Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. I hope everyone's having a good weekend. Eric O'Sullivan, the Sultan of Soup himself, is ready for Halloween. My boys are ready. They got their first big party tomorrow. We've got Harry Potter. We got Hal Jordan. We've also got an adorable pumpkin in the house. So we are in a festive mood. We're also going to be celebrating Thanksgiving next month. Hope everyone's having a good time. We also want to thank our sponsors of this week's live stream, Wild Void graphic novel on Indiegogo, live right now. There's a link, in the ticker, which I'm going to bring up here in a second because apparently I forgot to do that. And then we've got returning to the channel. We got Jervain Dargett, Man-Made Concepts. How you doing, Jervain?
I'm doing good. Wes doing good. Can't complain. Hope everybody's having, like you said, everybody's having a great weekend. I'm glad to be back on again.
So it took us a while to get back on your schedule. What you been up to?
Oh, been running Secret Identity, man. The comic pop-up shop has been going well. Tomorrow we got a date over at City of Chicago's running this event in the fall called Open Boulevard. So we'll be over at Logan Square at Kedzie and Logan from about, I believe it's 10 to 3. So we'll be out there bringing comics to the people. And then on top of that, we'll have at least one major announcement next month. Look for about the middle of November, where we'll finally get a little bit more of an internet presence. And from there, we'll be able to keep up to date with what's going on with Man-Made Concepts. And definitely got a big announcement coming up for February of next year.
Is Doc writing the first comic book?
Hey, I didn't know Doc was a writer. We're about to bring him on for something then.
Doc fancies himself a writer.
I have no interest in writing.
Eric Green's written like 10,000 pages worth of comic scripts.
I have a lot of shit. I have a lot of shit that I've written. I just have no interest in ever having anything published.
All right, there you go. Doc is apparently not going to be on the team. Also with us returning is Kenneth Dowling. I thought you had a championship on your shoulder. It turns out it's just a patch. Is that Hogwarts?
Polo. Close enough.
How you doing, Kenneth?
Doing wonderful, sir. Doing wonderful. Life is good. Can't complain, like Jervain said. So all is good, man. All is good.
So you survived a hurricane not too long ago, and I'm going through a tropical storm.
Yeah, man. I wish you all safety and everything for you and your family, man. Hopefully you have been impacted.
No, we're doing good. The worst is behind us. We're on the tail end of it now. It got pretty hairy last night. We had like 10 power outages in like 8 hours last night. It was very hard to work. Hopefully that is all behind us. But if you see my lights go out and you hear a beeping sound, that would be my ups, and I've lost power once again. And hopefully it'll be back on very soon. Who else we got with us? We got Gabe from Weird Science DC, as well as Comical Opinions. How you doing, Gabe?
I'm doing just fantastic. Reviews, and more reviews. The big two let me down, but the indies lift me up. So
there you go.
We'll see how it goes. We might have an interesting conversation today when it comes to recommendations.
Last week, titles. The big two kind of did better than the indies, but this week it's kind of more back to normal.
Their misses are more than their hits lately. So we'll see how that goes. But I might have a few interesting recommendations people will like.
So, Gabe, like Rihanna's new song, you've been lifted up, lift me up, like Rihanna's new song that's come out.
Yeah, the indies are the wind beneath my wings. That's how that's going to work.
Very nice. Yes. Got a lot of stupid references.
I just hope that one day I grow up enough that I can have unlimited power, just like Eric O'Sullivan.
Unlimited. Eric O'Sullivan is never going to grow up. That's the thing. Look at those glasses. All you need is like a doobie or something. You're mean. How you doing? We got the Sultan of Soup, Eric O'Sullivan. How you doing, buddy?
I'm feeling evil.
Very evil, huh?
This is Plaid Palpatine, a failed clone.
There's a character on AEW you probably like. He's talks about him. He's very nice and very evil.
Hashtag Cladman bad. Seriously, that's how I started out videos, man. Was this gig? I did this. It taught me how to make daily content. I'm doing awesome, Wes. Thank you so much for having me on. They sent me along as a surrogate band. We're going to find out where your fans really stand.
How was your meetup last weekend? You met up with a bunch of people, right?
Excellent. Thank you for asking. We saw Black Adam, and we all enjoyed it. And we're part of this picky ass, fandom network. We have our standards, and we're easily pleased. And guess what? 7 out of 7 of us were easily pleased with this movie. It had 2 strong, really well-paced, action-packed acts, and then kind of falls apart in the 3rd act, and then you have the big Cavill stinger. And overall, boom. Yeah, it was fun.
It's going to work for a 7-year-old, right?
Heck yeah. Yeah.
I think we're going to see that one rather than Black Panther. I think he's going to enjoy Black Adam more.
I hope he enjoys it.
Yeah, I second Sullivan's review. I saw it too. I have the same opinion. Yeah.
The Rock brought the heat.
He was fun.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah.
It's a
he was
fun movie. Like, it's not, I won't put in like my top 10 or top 20, but it's just fun. No too much political messaging or any of that nonsense like what the MCU is struggling with. It was a good, nice, fun, comic book movie.
There was one nice note I like, though. I'll mention it's worth mentioning, especially with our polarized fandom spheres. And Adriana, the female lead, hopefully she'll be Isis in a future movie. But Adriana calls out Carter Hall and points at him and says, "You are the people that believe in good and evil, and like we're trying to protect our nation." And I think that really nailed something sublime about where we are as fans too. It's just like, what's with the whole good and evil thing? Let's just.
Did he hit her in the face with a mace?
No.
Say, don't talk back to me.
No, he didn't. He saved that. He saved that for the big bad. He did.
Listen, lady. No,
To the moon with you, Adriana.
Like that.
Are you advocating for some Hank Pym, Janet Van Dyne action? Is that what you're getting?
That was the scroll.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Sure it was.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, sure.
All right, fellas. Last but not least, we do have Doc on the channel. How you doing, Doc? We just reviewed Axe Judgment Day 6. It was awful.
Yeah, it really was. This is a terrible fucking comic to finish a terrible event. And to those of you who were dumb enough to continue buying it after the second issue, I have no sympathy for the other $120 that you got stolen out of your wallet by Marvel, just to end up at the exact same place that you started. Good job.
All right, Doc. How are you doing besides that? You doing all right?
I'm good. I'm you know what? This whole not buying new comics thing, and it's kind of great.
Fucking
Also,
Jack Sparrow over here.
My wallet is a lot fatter too.
Damn right.
It's kind of great.
Pick up some new vintage comic books. We do have some comments from the peoples. Let's see what they have to say. Chuck Skills says, "Just wanted to show some love for the best weekly show on YouTube. Oh yeah, dig it. Well, thank you very much. I want to show you some love. Really appreciate that. Thank you to everyone for supporting the channel. The super chats are available if you would like to show us a little bit of love, as we have 2.5 hours of fun, geek-filled, escapades. We're going to go off left and right and talk about DC, Marvel, some other stuff like that. So definitely appreciate that, Chuck Skills. That is a great handle, sir. Cal Wow. Hey, I'm not an X-Men fan, but are Jordan White's parents brother and sister? Who says gone bananas these days?
I believe they may be, but I have no evidence to prove this. So
I don't know anything about his family, but hey,
maybe
he's a different time.
Maybe he's making a thinly veiled reference to the Banana Splits. Remember that show, Banana Splits?
Flegel was like really creepy, right?
Gal Lyle says, "I enjoyed Black Adam. The story was meh, but it was just pure fun. Dr. Fate was the best character, and it helped me get over green skin Karen."
I agree 100%. Dr. Fate was one of the best characters in that movie. Pierce Brosnan was. Now what happened?
Green skin Karen.
She-Hulk.
Yeah, she just asked to speak to the manager of the universe at the end and got her way.
That's an interesting interpretation.
Yes, I know.
It's accurate.
It looks like it's been somewhat of a hit. I'm excited for it. I wish it was a Black Adam Shazam crossover, because I like that Shazam movie a lot.
Oh, it's coming.
Hopefully they end up fighting each other in the future. But I'm glad you liked it, buddy. I'm glad something good came out of all of this stuff. And before we get into the full show, I do want to give a little shout out, a little love to the sponsor of today's live stream, Alex Paul and the team behind Wild Void, available right now on Indiegogo. Oh my goodness, I'm losing my place. Let's look at this bad boy. He's got an 80-page graphic novel being funded right now on Kickstarter. It's more of an 80s kind of sci-fi type of vibe here. If you're into good comic books without a lot of messaging, but with lots of masculinity and action, this is probably going to be something that you're going to want to look into. He's got a really good bundle here. It's a good deal called the Wild Void Badass Bundle. You end up getting the book. You get an alternate cover as well with a more retro style to it. You get the original soundtrack of the book itself on cassette tape. So Gervain Darkin and I remember you made cassette tapes, mixtapes for the little girls that you want to impress back in the day. You get a trading card and a poster as well. This is coming from Europe, but the shipping costs are absolutely they're good. They're very competitive. I think it's $12 if you're in the United States, 10 euros if you're in Europe, and then another $19 if you're rest of the world. What do you think, Gervain? Does this thing look all right? You're old school. This looks like it's out straight out of the 80s.
It was all right. I like the cassette tape. Gotta give my pencil some use. So got to throw those suckers back in. But yeah, it looks good. Looks good. Yeah, the ship is killing me. But other than that, it's like I give it a shot. You can't really
beat $12 US.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Got that number. So definitely go and support those guys. He's also a video game developer, so he has written stories back in the day. I think this is their first foray into comic book itself. But if you've been reading comic books and you're looking for alternatives, you will have noticed by now that European comic books are absolutely where it's at. If you want nice, masculine comic books with good action-packed storytelling, you need to go there, or manga these days. So definitely support these guys. Really appreciate them supporting the channel and sponsoring today's live stream. So thank you very much to them. There's a link in the ticker if you want to go check that one out, or you can go to Indiegogo and type in Wild Void. It will take you right to the campaign. And there's a lot of different products and bundles and stuff that you can support on that one as well. All right, let's get into this. Let's talk about the new DC Studios heads. Last week, DC Studios didn't even exist. It was DC Films under Walter Hamada. He had left the building. They had been searching for their Kevin Feige, David Zaslav had, for about 6 or 7 months at this point. It was getting a bit embarrassing. It turns out it's going to be James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, The Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker, as well as Peter Safran, who's produced a bunch of DC films, including Aquaman, I think The Suicide Squad, also Shazam in there. So he's definitely produced some of the better films out there. Gervain, you used to work for Milestone when you were an intern back in the day. You love DC Comics characters. We finally have the heads of the DC Studios, what's going to happen on film. Do you trust James Gunn?
No. So, not at all. No. I love James and what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy. That I will not deny. That's a feather in his cap. Nobody could ever take that away from him. He took a bunch of characters that even my wife said, really? And then basically everyone fell in love with the franchise. My problem with this one here is that unless this is Peter Jackson making that turn from some of the films that those of us were familiar with and basically turning out something like Lord of the Rings, fine. That's the optimist in me. The realist in me is going Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, which I don't have a problem with Peacemaker. But Suicide Squad, yeah, Peacemaker, that's what you would like. Again, obscure character, could care less. And despite what people were saying, it wasn't some rabid fandom that had to sit there and defend the honor of Peacemaker. But the Suicide Squad, that's where the realist of me goes. You guys are gonna take the fact that the MCU has a little bit of a sense of humor, and you're gonna like run it up to 1,000. And it'd be one thing if it was like Gunn being balanced by somebody else who probably has a different sensibility. But when you have two guys who have the same exact sensibility, and we've already seen at least 3 expressions of that, and Aquaman was uneven, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. Yeah. It might be united. It might be a more unified direction going forward, but it's going to have a sensibility that is just like, I'm not sure. If you can't get Suicide Squad right, I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah.
He got it more right than the other Suicide Squad. Who was that, Goyer?
David Ayer.
Yeah, but that just means none of them got it right. Yeah, it just means, but yeah, just getting it better than they did when they were so way off doesn't mean anything. It's real simple. You get a bunch of DC villains.
He kind of did Polka Dot Man pretty good.
No, well, what they should have done is they should have taken a take from Villains United. So I mean, just talk to Gail Simone for me. If you can get it back to when she was in that mode, talk to because that's what Suicide Squad should be modern day. Is Villains United easy? Villains United and run from there. That's where the tone and sensibility should come from. See more Secret Six than whatever somebody thinks Suicide Squad is this day. These days.
Good call.
Yeah.
So, Kenneth, I know that you're a big fan of the MCU. You always go out to all the movies. In fact, you went out and saw Black Adam. They were looking for their Kevin Feige, and they've taken a different model this time. It's not going to be one guy in charge. It's going to be one filmmaker and an elite producer as well, kind of in charge of the DCEU. They needed to do something to differentiate themselves from the MCU and provide a viable alternative. Is this the way that you think is going to work?
Well, to address Gervain's point, now, Gervain, you could be right about what you're saying. I'm not actually disagreeing with you, but from what I heard about James Gunn, I've heard that James Gunn is a enormous DC fan, a fan of the comics, not just the obscure out there stuff, but he's a fan of all DC, just like you are, Wes. And also,
explain Suicide Squad. Explain Suicide Squad. Which was Guardians, but with DC characters.
But that iteration of Suicide Squad, like Wes, I like that more than David Ayer's Suicide Squad. I think if that movie had a different name and it was marketed better, it would have been more of a better success. I think that's the thing. I think with marketing and doing the whole streaming and releasing movies at the time, that model isn't working. Just take these movies, put them out in theaters. People are going back to the theaters. They're seeing these movies. They're making money. Look at Black Adam. But before James Gunn was fired from Marvel for the whole tweets from 10 years ago thing, whatever, James Gunn, he wasn't just a filmmaker working for the MCU. He was graduating to the point where Kevin Feige was using him to plot out the cosmic aspect of the MCU. Like what they have right now in DC, I think James Gunn, they were propping him up to be a co-architect with Kevin Feige. So they were going to be neck and neck like that, just how you have DC. And like I've heard of James Gunn, he's an enormous DC fan. So if they want their Kevin Feige, that's what they have. And this other guy, Peter Safran, that's his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got a relationship with the guy who did, you just said it, Aquaman. Oh my God,
James Wan.
Thank you. He has a good relationship with him. Look, regardless of what you thought of Aquaman, it was one of their biggest hits. It grossed over $1 billion. That was a win that DC at the time needed. They needed that win. So, I mean, Gervain, you might be right, but I think as far as having their own Kevin Feige, them building their own DC universe, I think this is a step in the right direction. So,
I just say you have to say the proof is in the pudding. So, with Guardians of the Galaxy, when they first brought that one out, so now there was that, what was it, the Dan Abnett, Paul Pelletier, that version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which was great, which led to a greater storyline, which was Annihilation. They didn't do anything with that. Absolutely did nothing with that. Every incarnation, comic-wise, that Guardians of the Galaxy had been up to that point, they really didn't operate off any of that because James Gunn basically took a bunch of characters that basically no one had any investment in to a certain degree, no one had really an expectation of, and he's able to make it his own. Coming into now more established characters and doing the same thing. If this is like a 180 from basically what Suicide Squad was, all right, fine. But if you compare those two, when he got his hands on Suicide Squad, it wasn't the same result. It wasn't a Suicide Squad that one was its own thing and or superior, whether you want to say marketplace-wise, to what exists as the comic version. It was basically Guardians of the Galaxy, but just with DC supervillains. And it didn't work. So I have to at least now, like I said, I'll give anything a 50-50 chance. Gunn and Safran come along and basically just totally knock it out the box. I have no problem with that. But as Dr. Phil once said that sometimes the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. I'm just saying, there's reason to go out there and basically throw some rosaries up in the air and say, "Please, Lord, let this work."
Well, he's not going to be directing all the movies. He's just going to be the guy like mapping it out. So as
It
long
was
as they
good.
hire
It still
the
means
right
he's shot
filmmakers,
calling.
right?
He's shot calling. Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. I mean, so let's look at. And I had to suffer through Thor: Love and Thunder, which, by the way, my daughters loved. They love Thor: Love and Thunder. So if
Did
the
you
metric is
put them
going
in
to
the
be
closet?
making money, that's fine. But when I
I
got
was
to that
really tired.
scene, so some people saw I tweeted, like I'm 30 minutes in, and then there's that scene where Thor is comforting Sif, and I'm just like, that had to be the most tone deaf scene I've seen in a long time. It just was. It was just like, really? And I mean, I immediately went to the Black Knight, Monty Python and Holy Grail. And I'm just like, is this what I'm in for the next 2 hours sitting here? It's just like, it's something where there's a sensibility, which I'm not saying they're not going to make money. So if the metric is making money, then a lot of people just need to stop talking about the MCU because it don't matter what you think because they're making money. But if we're talking about where this is going to lead, as we know, always 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, the trajectory is it's going to be uniform. It's going to have a unified vision. It's going to have a unified creative vision. It's just going to have a sensibility that's just going to be like, I don't know if I'm up for this. That's
It's
all.
the
Doc
okay. The seriousness, the over the top seriousness of the Snyderverse,
Yeah,
like the grim and
DCU.
gritty, everything. Everything is essentially David Goyer's wet dream for superhero movies. I think we could say that era is over. The problem is they're just gonna Guardians of the Galaxify everything else of the DCU, and it's gonna be far too much of a tonal shift. There's not gonna be because Gunn, while he's not going to be directing everything, of course not. He's not going to be writing. He's not going to be directing. He's going to be green lighting though, and he's also going to be selecting, directors, screenwriters, scripts. He's going to be giving the stamp of approval on it. And honestly, I don't think he can save himself from the fucking cheesy humor, which works when taken in small doses, but as we see in like Thor 4 and even in Guardians 2, way too goddamn far. Guardians 2 sucks. I mean, it's an especially mediocre movie that does not hold up on any repeat viewing. So you're gonna end up with my fear is the DCEU. Okay, you're gonna revitalize it a little bit, but then after that, it's just gonna be everything wrong with the MCU after Guardians of the Galaxy, where they tried to inject too much of that shit into everything.
Right.
Even stuff that it doesn't belong in. They tried to they even tried to the slapsticky comedy. They did it in fucking Black Widow with Guardian. It doesn't work. And I feel like that's way too much of an overcorrection for the DCEU. I feel like him being involved, it would have been cool, great, but I got concerns.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting. James. Well, here's what I would say. James Gunn is an improvement over Walter Hamada. Okay, so first off, he's
so's a trash
improvement over.
can.
So, all right, okay. Well, you take your wins where you can get them. James Gunn is an improvement over Walter Hamada. I am, like others, am not in the Aquaman film love camp. I was not thrilled with that film. I thought there were too many corny, cheesy moments. So, I mean, so if you're going to use that as like, this is a movie that made a lot of money. Michael Bay Transformers films make a lot of money, and those movies are garbage. Okay, so saying that it made a lot of money is not an indicator of quality.
The first one was good.
I like of all the Transformer movies, the only one that I thought kind of nailed the tone and got the characters right was the Bumblebee movie.
It was the 86 movie.
Yeah, I mean yeah, of course, but I mean the live action is the Bumblebee movie. I think that's the one that got the closest. Okay, so James Gunn is an improvement over Walter Hamada. This is something we talked about the last time I was on. Is what I'm seeing that two things that are giving me immediate concern. Number one is I don't see DC controlling the message. I'm seeing all these comments about Cavill's meeting with Zack Snyder. They're buds again, and they're talking about maybe doing things together. It's like, you want to get away from the Snyderverse. Snyderverse is, from an executive decision-making perspective, they need to send a very clear message that they're moving on from the Snyderverse. And I don't see them doing that. And I think that's part of the reason why Gunn's Suicide Squad movie didn't do as well, because it felt too much like a tumor on the back of the Snyderverse, because it was trying to kind of like keep it but not do something different at the same time. Tonally was all over the place. Some of the jokes, and that Harley Quinn just kind of I'm over Harley Quinn, especially Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. She did what she needed to do, but it was just too much, and I think Gunn went the wrong direction. Exactly to your point, it was like Guardians of the Galaxy Suicide Squad skinned version, and nobody wanted that. And
I love how nobody's brought up Birds of Prey yet.
I'm not even going to touch that.
Seriously, because
the
collective universe memory hold that movie. Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Nope.
But credit to Givion for bringing up Dan Abnett, who is my number one top pick. If somebody were to get rid of Clunrad and bring a new writer in for Wonder Woman, it would be Abnett. That's the guy that should be writing Wonder Woman right now. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, is Gunn a good choice? He's better than Hamada, but at the same time, it's too early. We don't know his level of influence. We don't know his strategy. What's the roadmap? I want to see the plan. I don't care about Gunn. I want to see the plan. You show me the plan. If the plan looks good, then I'm on board. If you show me nothing but Gunn's bringing his unique style and flavor,
Superman.
Yeah, if he's bringing his unique style and flavor, okay, that tells me nothing. And all I've seen from him is Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and a bunch of old tweets and blog posts about adult activities involving underage children.
You didn't see Dawn of the Dead?
Yeah, I hated that movie.
And how does Black Adam affect all this? How does Black Adam, if it's going to be the success it's looking like, now how's Black Adam going to affect all this? Because that's not going to be, from what I've heard, that's not the same tonal shift that you would expect from a Gunn and Safran.
I don't think Black Adam is the big success people are kind of thinking it is. I think once we get past this first weekend and into next week, I think you're going to see a nosedive on the ticket sales. I think it's like the first Venom-ish, second Venom-ish, where it's good cheesy popcorn fun, but it's forgettable fun, and then people are just going to move on for it. If you're looking for it to be the anchor of where the DCU goes forward, I don't think it's going to be that anchor. I really don't.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
They're banking on the we all know. I mean, spoilers, but they're banking on the Henry Cavill spoiler to let people in that first weekend.
And I think they're putting a lot of eggs in the Flash basket, which is already down the road. So if we're kind of going to try and get a better sense of what's going to happen with the DCU going forward, it depends on what that Flash movie looks like, what happens in that Flash movie, and what comes out going forward. Because everybody's talking about cameos, and it's going to be Flashpoint, which is going to reboot the universe, and that's going to set the direction going forward. We'll see. But I think right now it's just all I can say is James Gunn is an improvement over Hamada. That's all you can really say for sure at this point, because Hamada did a terrible job. So at the very least, the new guy is in a better position. Maybe we'll see.
I would like to see a Crisis movie out of all of this. Seriously, a big ass Crisis movie. I would want to see like Endgame.
That'd need to be like 3 movies, though, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
Marvel did it. Trilogy,
yeah, Marvel did it. I mean,
you can't have a crisis if you don't have a crisis.
I mean, we have our imagination.
Well, we kind of do have a crisis. We have like these movies that are uneven. We have an uneven universe. So.
Hold on a second. How do I ban Eric from the panel? Yeah,
Wait, so your solution to the DCU that made the mistake of jumping to Batman versus Superman and JLA instead of taking the long way there is to jump to a Crisis, which
I'm
Is-
saying
point is-
eventually. I'm saying after a few movies,
You need like
leave your-
15.
you need these Easter egg things. It's just
No, you need like 15 movies to
you
build
can
up
have
to
the
a crisis.
robustness of all these characters.
There's no robustness in 2 movies.
Endgame took 10 years to get there. Crisis is a bigger event than Endgame.
I
If
might
you
be
look
the
at what
Blue
it does-
And
Lantern of the
Suicide
group.
Squad
That's what I'm.
shows that DC is still inhaling Marvel's farts. It's like, come on, guys. It's like it's like the whole problem with the DC movie thing in the first place was they never established
They
their own
jumped.
identity. Never. They've never done it in a way where they've shown they've had a plan. So I agree with Gabe. Let's see the plan. It emboldened me, encouraged me with an actual plan, a roadmap that looks like you know what to do with your universe in a way that it's specific to DC, that is different than what Marvel's doing, and I'll go along with it. But they've been playing catch up since the beginning. Since the beginning.
You know what Feige does that's really smart? Feige does this thing that's really smart. Every time he comes out for D23 or Hall H or whatever it is, he puts this PowerPoint slide behind him that has the different titles kind of laid out in these swim lanes and a roadmap.
Kane Dynasty.
That is
You know where you're
exactly.
going.
That's the smartest thing in the world somebody like him can do, because it shows you exactly where they're going. So when somebody sees a film and they're like Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania, they're like, what the heck is that? But if you look at that map, you see, oh, it's leading into Kang. It's leading into X and Y and Z. It is giving the viewers, the people who are paying their money to go to see these films, it's giving them a vision of the future. So that when you go into the films, now those individual films have more weight. Now they have
I have
more
a lot more confidence than 5G did.
because you see them as bricks. You see them as bricks that are laying the foundation for whatever is coming forward. Going
The
forward.
old-fashioned checklist page.
But-
You know which order to file your funny books in story-wise.
If DC wants to copy Marvel, Gunn needs to do that. He
Now,
needs to
you
come
guys-
up with
you
that
guys are-
PowerPoint slide and say, "This is where we're going to go."
You're still jumping too far ahead. You're still jumping too far ahead.
Yeah.
DC hasn't proven that they can build bricks yet, much less put bricks in a row.
That's fine.
That's the reason why Marvel didn't start doing that. They released 3 movies at approximately the same time. You had Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and fucking Man-Thing. All came out from Marvel Studios at about the same time. They picked and chose which one ended up the best project and then built out from there. DC, you keep wanting, everybody keeps wanting DC to have a map. They haven't proven that they know how to draw yet.
Okay. But the
Yeah, that's
map
when
doesn't need to
Marvel's
be.
playing-
But the map doesn't need to be an interconnected universe. You can have Batman. You can then Batman and the Court of Owls, and Batman and Night of the Demon, or something like that. Where even though it might be a map, it might just be maps that build foundations of the Trinity, and then you can springboard out if that all plays out. So at the very least, you can see where they're going with the individual characters, if not an interconnected universe. You can still do that. You just have to kind of temper it a little bit.
And Marvel MCU took characters that basically you could argue on some level were B-listers and basically turn them into A-listers. And DC just took A-listers and basically is like, huh? What? Whoop? I mean, Iron Man. I mean, when you looked at that original, what they were pitching, to Doc's point, what they were pitching at the beginning when they started out way back when with Paramount, it was kind of like, huh? And it was like Iron Man, but they literally turned Iron Man into like the MCU Spider-Man. That's literally what they did. And it's like, and that required a vision.
Right, or at least take it to Reed Richards.
And what they did was they made 3 movies. One was so poor that they said, "Oh fuck it, we're putting this direct to DVD. We're not even going to reference that it ever happened."
I didn't even know it was out there.
There's a Man-Thing movie. It's direct to DVD. It came out from Marvel Studios around the same time.
Yeah, you see it on the Sci-Fi Channel a lot.
Yeah. Then
it's weird.
But then they did Incredible Hulk, and because they were all set in the same universe, but very, very, very loosely. They also didn't, until the post-credit scene, didn't even hint that they'd be in the same universe or that there was going to be building to something later. So and honestly, that's the point of a post-credit scene. You can walk away from it. You can't make it as part of your plot. and it's because you can backpedal on it. So if they put something out, another Wonder Woman 1984 or another shit movie, the first Suicide Squad, they don't actually have to like live with it being connected because there's actual in-story connection. You have it, you do it via Easter eggs, and you can backpedal when you need to.
Yeah, that's what the Flash movie is. There's nothing that's going to be connected to all that stuff.
Yeah, well, it's also
Fresh start.
It's a complete backpedal movie. They made a movie to backpedal, but yes. So you build something. You build a couple of independent things, and they all have to be able to stand on their own. Or you find something else to, again, you're building tent poles. You want to put up a tent, you got to still have some fucking poles. And if one is shit, you just walk away from that one, put another one in its place.
Which they did with Hulk.
Yeah, which they did with Hulk.
Yep.
I mean, granted, that also
Incredible Hulk wasn't a bad movie. What are you guys talking about?
No, it's not that it was a bad movie, but it made the same amount of money as the Universal one. That's why they kind of felt like they found the floor, if you will. So that's why they moved on from it.
Not only did it, there was two reasons why they moved away from Hulk. One is because it did not perform. It was a good movie. It did not perform. Second is because they still have to split distribution rights.
Yes.
And that was right after, right before Disney acquired them.
Yep.
And they need to split. That's why you'll never see another Hulk movie, because 50% of an Ant-Man movie is still more than, or 100% of an Ant-Man movie is still more than 50% of a Hulk movie.
Yep.
Sorry.
It didn't hit $1 billion. That's what these comic.
Well, nothing did. Iron Man, the first one, didn't hit $1 billion. It hit like 450 million or something.
Well, in the earlier stages, but as these comic movies kept going forward and the MCU kept moving, now they cost more and more, and now they have to make $1 billion because they cost so much.
Yeah,
and
the
actors and whatnot. So yeah,
the scale is a lot larger, but that's the point. DC is trying to jump in at the same scale that Marvel built themselves 4 years in year one, and then they want to jump to year 6 in year 6 and 7 in year 2. Stop it.
Well, we don't know what James Gunn and Peter Safran's plan is. It might be just to lay a foundation with the Flash and put out a couple of titles. That sounds like Black Adam's probably going to be a part of that. They got some other standalone universes, I guess, with this Batman movie and stuff like that. But we shall see. It'll be interesting as long as James Gunn doesn't just hire people with his own sensibilities. He does the smart thing like Feige did. Every single MCU movie early on had its own tone. It was like a different genre of film, which I think was smart to differentiate them. Yes, it was a superhero movie, but Captain America was a war movie. Captain America: Winter Soldier was like an espionage thriller.
Yeah,
kind of right. A damn good one too.
Yep.
Ant-Man was a caper. Like
it was a
comedy caper. Yep.
Yeah. So if you're smart, they'll do that. We do have a lot of people chiming in. Let's hear what the viewers have to say. Cal Lyle, I read some alleged leaks for Wonder Woman King Shuri. And I think Riri is going to be unliked even more, and the movie leaks looks so female and boring.
There was a clip put out of her, like from Wakanda Forever, and I will give them credit. She acts and sounds exactly like she does in the comics.
Well, that's not good.
So I'm just going to leave it at that.
I hope they don't.
That's probably not
audience that if they don't go to support Wakanda Forever, that they're racist or they don't like black women in action movies or whatever.
Listen,
man, I saw another article that said if you're white, you can't go see Wakanda Forever on opening weekend because that's racist.
Oh man.
If I was black guy, right, I wanted to see Superman and the white people for me.
You take the opening weekend off. You give it to us.
Do you have no mirrors in your house?
When I wanted to see Superman and a white person tells me you can't see Superman, you give your ticket to a white family. See, think how racist that is. You can't. You don't fight hate with hate, and you can't market.
Listen, buddy. In today's age, that's justice.
So karma.
Ooh, ridiculous.
It's called social reparations.
That does not sound good.
I'll take
at all.
regular reparations. I don't need social reparations. I can quantify regular reparations.
Caleb also says, did you see Feige's face when he was asked about Gunn? I did not see his face, but I saw the quote. He said he was going to be the first one in line to watch James Gunn's DCEU. He's excited what he's going to do.
Well, of course he's going to say that. What else is he going to say?
Oh, yeah, he's
Well, what did his face say? I didn't see it.
He's winning.
What did Joe Q say in the 90s about?
I don't think Kevin Feige's worried about the DCEU yet. Probably not.
Yeah.
He also says he needs to temper his humor and tone it down. Imagine he's talking about James Gunn. And I want a Superman movie that's done with a similar style and tone of the theme to Top Gun Maverick.
Maverick was some good stuff.
Over the top.
If Christopher McQuarrie is directing Henry Cavill and Superman, that's one to be excited for.
What if it's J.J. Abrams?
A lot of lens flares.
Can you imagine the lens flares as he's flying past the
Spielberg light.
That's
what you
Look,
have.
if the DCU really wants to stick it to Marvel, I would see if I could tap the Russo brothers to do a Superman movie.
I would rather see Francis Ford Coppola's Superman.
The Russo brothers?
Think about it. He'd hire his nephew, Nick Cage. He would.
But Gabe, you brought up a great point. Like, James Gunn leaving the MCU, I don't think that's going to be the last time you're seeing a major player from the MCU leave to go to DC.
Well, we saw Joss Whedon. Right. That didn't work out. Joss Whedon says, I trust James Gunn. He has the power to elevate lesser-known characters. I didn't know Guardians of the Galaxy until the movie. I want that power too.
Yeah, but that's because there's no expectation of those characters. See, I think that's what people keep missing, is that when you have Guardians of the Galaxy, nobody knew who they were. No, I mean, except for guys like us, nobody knew who these characters were. So it's like, that's a different thing than taking Superman or Wonder Woman or Flash and doing what Gunn might do with them. Look, the first Wonder Woman movie I liked because I did like that it had like little splashes of humor and senses of humor. That was fine, but at the same time, you know, you had to deal with some real stuff. And except for that whole Ares misfire at the end, it was a good movie, but it was balanced. It was balanced. The humor hit in the right places as they presented Diana as a fish out of water thing, that's different than what Gunn seems to do most of the time. He had blank slates on the Guardians of the Galaxy. So basically for most of the public, that was the first time you had seen those characters or you even knew about them. It's like that's just, even I would say to a certain extent to Iron Man. Iron Man is like an A-lister to guys who read comics. Iron Man before that movie came out, really, y'all? I mean, except for maybe the 90s animated cartoon, which I'm not going to give them that. And maybe I'm going way back to 66, 67 stuff. Come on. No.
Cal Miles says, Gunn needs to make the alien character seriously and not goofballs. If they show the white Martians, they have to look dangerous, not funny. I definitely don't want him to Taika Waititi up the DCEU. I've had enough of Taika Waititi doing superhero movies. He made Thor into a joke, and I guess, I don't know, did he murder off the character?
Murdered Gore. He murdered Gore.
If Gunn is touching if Gunn is touching the Justice League, Martian Manhunter is a tragic character. That is a tragic character who's gone through some stuff. He's lost his people, he's lost his home and family and everything else. You don't joke up Martian Manhunter. You start joking up Martian Manhunter, then I wash my hands of Gunn, because that's the wrong direction to go. You need to have a league that it's a collection of different spirits, different personalities, different hearts in an assorted array of traumas and things that they've gone through. They don't all need to be broken, sad people, but they all bring the unique tones of personalities and perspectives. If everybody's jokey, you miss the point. The reason that group works is not because they have different powers. It works because they all come from these different experiences and these different backgrounds and things that make them unique. And together they are stronger than they are individually, even Superman. You start joking.
So, Gabe, how do you reconcile that with Justice League International then in comics?
Well, because Justice League International is its own thing. It is meant to be a collection of
There you go.
That's why that works.
Yep.
That's why that
There
works.
you go.
You don't take Guy Gardner seriously. Who takes Guy Gardner seriously? The guy's an ass. That's the whole
You're so Tom King and you don't even know it, Gabe. Terrible.
Look,
Ideator says
Guy Gardner's an
the
ass, but I'm not going to kill him by turning him into a bunch of ice cubes.
Ideator says the best Suicide Squad was Assault on Arkham.
Yes,
Probably. You got
It
that
was.
right, son.
Assault on Arkham was a very great animated movie. That was
Yep.
awesome.
Well,
That's-
maybe they
that's
should take
what-
some notes.
that's
They
what-
probably have those people under. They got their numbers.
And I know that's what we're gonna do with that first Suicide Squad movie based on Batman being in it, but then, but yeah,
Paul
Oh,
M
have
says
the
the
Suicide
best.
Squad fight. I'm sorry, Wes. I'm sorry.
Paul M says this is the best comic show on YouTube. Keep up the good work, Wes. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hope you're having a wonderful time. And well, when I lived there, it was gloomy England. Maybe it's sunny today. We'll see what happens there. Ideator says familiarity doomed Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Too much family dynamic. They did play up the kind of the same jokes, the soundtrack and everything had a very familiar feel to it. I also didn't like the look of the gold people. They looked terrible.
I'll give it. I like the maybe I'm just a
Ego
softie.
wasn't bad though.
Yeah, maybe I'm a softie. I liked the whole interaction between Mantis and Drax. I liked the way that
was fun.
friendship developed. That I liked a lot because it had a lot of heart. You will get me with heart. If you can put heart in your story, you'll get me every time. And I think, and if you can get out of the way of the jokiness and let the heart come through, that's going to serve Gunn a lot better, especially with other characters in the future.
WraithX7 says the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie was good but overrated. The second movie was trash. The second Squad film is overrated and was a Guardians of the Galaxy rehash. Peacemaker was good.
Didn't watch Peacemaker.
yeah,
It's pretty funny,
it was
Doc.
fun.
You would
It's
like-
funny.
There's a lot of dick and fart jokes in there. Right
Yeah,
up your alley.
it's like basically.
Well, see, so here's another thing that concerns me about Gunn, which is a mistake that he made with the Suicide Squad movie that is outside of the movie. Good marketing can prop up a bad movie. Bad marketing can kill a good movie or a decent movie. Suicide Squad is a perfect example of that. You had banger killer marketing for the first movie, the David Ayer movie. With the Bohemian Rhapsody trailers and all the fun and excitement and the lights and the popping and a bright flash. That movie was horrible. I was mad when I left that theater because I was like, I can't believe coming out of Snyderverse and this is where there was still some hype around the Snyderverse and they didn't have that patina of negativity around it. It's you had all this opportunity and you could tell this really cool story and this movie was junk. I was angry. So good marketing, bad movie. What happened was, what happens when the second movie came up and they were like, is this a sequel? Is it disconnected? Is this its own thing? Gunn in particular was very coy about that. He wouldn't answer the question directly. He would, whenever asked, he would say, it's the Suicide Squad movie. It's not a suicide. He would not dispel the whole idea that the first movie and the second movie were sort of connected, but not really, but kind of, but not the same thing. And all the marketing around it was bad. The trailers weren't particularly good. The marketing push wasn't there. It was just sort of, it almost felt like WGB just wanted to get the movie done and out of the way because they contractually had to finish it. That's how it felt. Yet, by all accounts, that movie, whether you like it or hate it, is still better than the first movie. I'm pretty much on every level. I mean, the story was complete. The characters were there. There was more. The production value kind of like told the whole story all the way through. But the marketing was horrible by comparison. So that's a case where the bad marketing will kill a better movie. And James Gunn was a part of that because every time he was interviewed, he wouldn't fix it. He wouldn't correct that mistake. He wouldn't say, no, this is a separate thing. We took Harley Quinn and that's about it. Everything else is different. And he wouldn't finish that off. And that's on him. So I hope he learns from that lesson.
Lade Kraber says, by the end of Fall of X, what do you guys think will have been the best X-Men event? It just had to be better. This has to be better than X of Swords and Axe, right?
That's a trick
Well,
question.
that's a pretty low bar there, Doc. You think Fall of X will be number one?
Maybe Inferno or I mean, if they slaughter the 5 and throw Krakoa back into space, then Fall of X will be the best. If they find a way to entirely pretend like this era never occurred, then that will be the best. Whatever, if it ends shit, if it ends plant shit and gets back to actual superheroes, fighting for a world that hates and fears them instead of drug dealing or segregationist orgy island, then yes, whatever does that will be the best event. Otherwise, until then, it's probably Inferno, and that's a fairly low bar.
Gobbard Sense says Rocksteady Studios said Suicide Squad kills Justice League game is part of the Arkham universe, but might retcon Assault on Arkham movie. Why? Why would you do that?
That's because WB and DC haven't learned the lesson that manga and anime learned a long time ago. Is people like it when all the things work together. If you go back to manga and anime and all these other things, if you watch the anime and read the manga, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same. But people love it because they want to have it all in all different formats and all different mediums and platforms and everything else. So if they're going to retcon something and then create a movie or a video game or a cartoon, animated or a graphic novel, whatever it is, and they're not the same thing, it's because they haven't learned their lesson. WB and DC have not learned their lesson. Is people like it when all the things are the same, not the same as in, just repeat over and over again, but what I read in the comic is the same thing as what I see in the movie, which is the same thing I see in the comic. Mm-hmm. Now you have to make concessions to transform from one platform to the other, but if they're completely wildly different and one is basically retconning something else, people don't like that. And
they want good adaptations.
They want adaptations. They don't want, that version of Green Lantern doesn't count. This version of Martian Manhunter is the correct version. People don't want to have to think about all that. They don't. they want consistency, and you're not giving it to them. So if they keep doing that, that means they haven't learned their lesson.
And it's not one-to-one consistency.
Yeah.
Steak Mall says, shout out to the panel. # manga doc will be converted by the end of the year. Give it.
Next year.
And then next year you'll say next year, and the following year you'll say the next year.
Eventually you're gonna want to read
then
a good comic book,
then I will die.
Uncle Lars talking to Luke.
And we'll throw manga in his coffin.
We'll bury Doc with the My Hero Academia box set.
I will come back just to throw it out of my fucking coffin and go back to sleep.
My goodness. Well, shout out, Doc. I don't know why you won't give it a try. Callum says Ant-Man 3 will be another stupid replacement movie. How so? They're replacing Ant-Man with his daughter?
I kind of like the trailer. Yeah, they replaced the actor for the daughter. I kind of like the trailer. It was okay.
No. I mean, he says it's a replacement movie, like they're replacing the hero.
They're likely it's likely going to be.
You can't replace Paul Rudd. Everyone likes him.
It's still likely to be Cassie Lang taking over for. As she'll end up as Stature, because they'll call her Ant Woman or something. I don't fucking know.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, just join the crew.
Ant Gal sounds better.
Wraith X7. My concern with Gunn is that he will steer the DCU into being R-rated and raunchy humor aimed at a narrow adult audience. Man, it's guys like Sully. You ruin everything. Oh, I want my DCU to be R-rated, and you ruin it for the kids and people that don't want all that crap. Thanks a lot, Sully.
Couldn't help it.
Jeez. He's sitting there with those stupid glasses and a doobie in his mouth thinking he did something cool and ended up ruining the entire universe.
Fatal J got me to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League and I liked it. I did not expect that.
I didn't bring you on the panel to be basically perverted by Fatal J and his terrible take in movies. Okay.
I want a burrito.
Yeah, he's a breakfast burrito.
I sympathize with that concern. I don't think Zaslav would let it happen. He's all about making money, and 4-quadrant movies make the money.
That's right.
Gobbin says DCU starts huffing the farts of the MCU because back then a lot of people say MCU movies are better than DC. That leads us to now. I'll never forget.
You're reading a different.
Really a different thing. Yeah. Or we're seeing something.
Oh, damn. Yeah,
that's the one. Whoops. Sorry. They are huffing their farts. They want to be the MCU so bad they missed the point. You got to do something different to differentiate yourself.
Right.
Well, the MCU has such
they tried
10 years with such a forward momentum. Like you, Doc, and Jadrena were saying, they started with individual movies and then started building up to a narrative, up to Avengers. You introduced in Thanos. Then after that, Avengers 2, you have the Infinity Stones. And it build and build and build into the climax, which is Avengers Infinity War and then Endgame. And like I think you said before, Doc, Endgame, that's where it should have ended. I would
It's
have
where it did. In the minds of the majority of the audience, it did.
This
Sorry.
is a rabbit hole. All right, let's go to TY. What does the DCEU do with Batman? Bring Affleck back, recast, pull Pattinson in. I'm not interested in a DCU without a full-fledged Batman. Well, there will be a Batman, certainly at the center of the universe. I think if they're smart, they bring Affleck back. He was a good Batman, and we haven't seen a good solo Affleck Batman movie. I think people would like that. As far as Pattinson, he's off in his own world with Matt Reeves' Batman. They're going to do the Penguin, and they're going to do some spin-off shows and stuff like that. It wasn't a terrible movie, but man, I don't think he was a great Batman.
But Affleck still has that script for where he fights Deathstroke. He still has that script. And I was very interested in directing
Deathstroke.
Yeah, I'm very interested in Ben Affleck directing a Batman movie. I'm interested in Ben Affleck directing, period. I think he was a great director. Now, his fourth film, what was it? Live by Night, whatever. The third act, that's where it fell off. But
the period movie.
Right. But I think he's an awesome filmmaker. I want him to get back into director's chair.
I like The Town.
I love The Town. Yeah.
I like The Town. I like Argo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Argo was good.
My concern with super chats like this is, as much as we ding on the DCEU or DCEU for copying Marvel and doing it badly, when I see chats like this, that to me looks like the DCEU is trying to copy DC Comics and doing it badly. The problem with DC Comics is you have too many Batman titles. They're all over the place. There's no consistency between them, and that's creating a problem. Everybody like us, we know that's a problem.
Yeah, they made $1 billion Joker movie. They made a Batman movie that made $700 million, and there's no way for the two to fight because they're in different universes.
Right.
That's stupid.
So with the last thing that James Gunn and Safran want to do come out of the gate is say, okay, let's take all that Batman confusion. That's what I'm going to call it, Batman confusion, and make more of it. And do more of it. They need to streamline that stuff. They need to simplify. They need to get clear. And stuff like this is not heading in that direction.
Cal Lyle, the MCU is dying slowly by 1,000 cuts, and is Feige deliberately trying to divide people and bait and switch? Because that's all I see in Phase 4.
Yes.
Well, it looks like Kenneth's got something to say.
Well, no, I want to see it on that with that last subject. Matt Reeves, he wants to expand the whole Batman universe by focusing on his villains. He wants to give each one of Batman's villains their own movie. Penguin's getting his own TV show. I'm hearing he wants to give Scarecrow his own movie, or Mr. Freeze their own movie. So he wants to expand that universe. But yeah,
no. What about this MCU thing that we're talking about now?
But yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, this, I said this before. I don't know if people in charge of that regime that are forcing Feige to do this stuff with She-Hulk, or letting these creators come in and pushing politics, or maybe Kevin Feige is checked out, but maybe he needs someone else to bounce ideas off of to keep it fresh, because
apparently he needs Sony to make a good movie nowadays.
Yeah, he needs what's her name that used to run Sony, that now has her own thing, the one that got kicked out of Sony. She's always the executive producer on all the Spider-Man movies.
I know regardless that the MCU's
if you want to be dying slowly, this is the way you want to die. Because
I mean,
you died slowly. The same thing as everybody else died slowly.
Here's the thing: I don't think it's a deliberate attempt to divide people. I don't think it's I think it is deliberate bait and switch.
Amy Pascal.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. I think it is deliberate bait and switch, but it's, hey, we have this other thing that we think is good or as good. So we're going to try to force feed it to you until you like it. The same way that the comics have. He honestly, I think he looks at what Marvel Comics has attempted to do and just said, well, they did it wrong. And it's like, you know, like communism. Nobody ever gets it right. That's the problem. You just didn't do it right.
All right.
But
Cal
it's still a
Miles
bad
says,
idea.
Off topic, that footage you showed last week of Tom King when he said he loves his family. You know, he was lying about that. He did write Mr. Terrific. I don't know. I imagine he does love his family. He's just got a weird story trope. Just because you write sad stories where bad things happen to the family all the time doesn't mean you don't love your family. You might just be a bad writer, Gabe.
No comment.
Jeez.
This is Tom King is a very strange anomaly in the realm of writing comics. He's a very skilled writer. He knows how to put the words together. He knows how to create the structure of the script and to do all those things. Where King regularly fails, at least for me and maybe for others, is his theme. It's the what is the point of this story? And for him, especially lately, it's misery porn. It's let me show you how I can destroy, how I can bring these characters as low as humanly possible.
That doesn't mean he doesn't love his family.
Right, exactly to the point. I mean, but you asked me
Because
about
he loves his
writing.
family.
You asked me about his
What's
writing.
the question? He does. He says he doesn't love his family because of Mr. Terrific.
You asked me about his writing. I'm answering about his writing. His themes and his messages are awful. Now, does he love his family or not? I don't know. I don't know personally. I mean, I don't know.
This is his therapy. He's using his comics as therapy. The end.
Yes. Brian Borden, check out James Gunn The Specials.
Yeah.
It's an indie film from 2000 about a D-list group of superheroes. So I've seen Super, which was pretty cynical take on superheroes. I think Rainn Wilson gets raped at one point by I don't know, what's that actor's name now?
Elliot Page.
Elliot Page. There you go, by Elliot Page. But I have not seen The Specials. Is it worth it?
It's kind of like, you remember that old movie with not old movie. It's not that old. The Mystery Men with Ben Stiller.
Yes. That's
Fuck that movie.
It's kind of like
funny.
that. It's kind of like that.
Very nice. The Sphinxter or whatever that guy was, Paul Rubens. He's farting everywhere.
Yeah.
Pretty funny movie. Darth Bobcat. I couldn't finish Gunn Suicide Squad or get all the way through episode 2 of Pacemaker. I just hate his tone without him being Rain did. I could see that. If you don't like it, it's definitely going to like really throw you off. It's kind of like Taika Waititi. I hate his stuff, and I can't get through his movies anymore.
And Starro was the wrong thing to have in that movie.
Starro's such a cool villain, though.
Yeah, but Suicide Squad is a
not a Starro level team.
Is a Black Ops team. Suicide Squad is a Black Ops team. Starro is not the right villain that you put.
Starro is a Justice League event.
Yeah, exactly. You don't. Suicide Squad is like you go up against Deathstroke in his bunker in a deserted island where he's training a group of terrorists or something like that. That's what the Suicide Squad is for.
Here's
Cal
the thing.
Miles says.
Never mind. Go ahead.
They started off against Brimstone. Yeah, that's what.
Cal Lyle says King Shark was good though. I thought Polka Dot Man was the best one.
Yeah, Polka Dot Man was fun. Yep.
Here. The whole point of both of the Suicide Squads is they're used as a team to clean up the mess that the government makes. They made the mess with Enchantress in the first. They made the mess with Starro in the second. It doesn't matter what level, what tier that villain is on, or that enemy is on. They're just there to clean up government mess.
And Batman comes in to shut them down.
What did you think about King Shark, Doc? Was he good?
I thought Stallone was fine as King Shark. I thought it was actually kind of funny. But here's the thing: I would never want a King Shark movie out of that. Fuck, that'd be so annoying. It's like every time you put Will Ferrell as the lead in a movie.
Special.
That's all right.
Will
Ferrell
Ferrell
sucks. Movie King Shark and Groot.
Yeah,
King Shark
was good.
King Shark is Mongo from Blazing Saddles. He's good for comic relief. He has his place, but you can't make a lead out of that.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody
Will Ferrell in old school. Well, Will Ferrell in general, and when you stick him in the lead role, he sucks.
Anchorman,
Mike Irish,
Step Brothers. What?
Yeah, it sucks.
Mike Irish. I hope Marvel keeps screwing up X-Men books because there's nothing funnier than watching Wes go off on rants about how much they suck nowadays. Well, I did a lot of it. Doc and
I
I
would
just
agree.
reviewed Axe Judgment Day.
Yep.
It was kind of embarrassing, but yeah.
Crazy.
I don't see the X-Men getting better anytime soon. We got another 3 or 4 years at least before this train wreck finally is acknowledged and fixed. My goodness. Goblin sense. I like Gunn Suicide Squad more than the first movie. You think the Ayer cut should be released out of fairness because of Zack Snyder can only get that privilege? I think they would be stupid to release it because of what happened with Zack Snyder. It's been years now, and people won't get over the fact that Zack Snyder is not the architect of the DCEU, and it's all because they actually released the Zack Snyder cut of the movie. Sure, it's a little bit better than the Joss Whedon cut, but it's still a bad movie. Who gives a fuck? They made a huge mistake. I think that's why Walter Hamada got fired.
But people who are Snyderverse and maybe they're forgetting that the reason WB released the Snyder cut is because they wanted a huge push to get subscribers for HBO Max, which is where that was released. That's what it was in theaters for a little bit, but that was the big push. Is they used it as a marketing tool to get subscribers. You're not going to get that with the Ayer cut. There is not enough people who care about that movie to warrant all the money that would go into releasing a new cut and then maybe putting it in theaters for a week and then using it as a subscriber tool to kind of bring people. Nobody cares enough about that movie to bring that in. Snyder can get it with it, not Ayer.
Not primary reason is because people that watch movies, just the normie audience, knows who Zack Snyder is. Nobody knows who the fuck David Ayers is.
Nobody cares.
Literally nobody.
That's why they didn't get any more subscribers.
But quick question: what? Say if Zack Snyder comes back, right?
No.
Say he was
it's not coming back.
He
said he doesn't want to.
Right, but say if he does, say if he's producing partner, him and James Gunn work together. They work together. They cancel out their negative points. Maybe they could make movies that are one is
Dawn of the Dead is good. We've seen it, but
no, it's not.
Yeah, but say one is
good.
not too funny, one is not too dark. You have a middle ground, and you have a decent movie. What if that happened?
It's not going to happen. He said he's not coming back. I think he had a bad experience.
I don't think their negatives would cancel each other out. I think their negatives would
I think he's doing all his stuff on Netflix now. I think he liked the way that his Netflix movie went.
Yeah,
he is doing a sequel.
Yeah. Mike Irish, I'm still holding out for hope for the Dark Universe. You already got the Dark Universe.
You hit me right there, but unfortunately, the Godzilla movies did it better. So anyway,
the monster movies.
Is that the Universal Dark Universe from the?
I thought you were talking about the Snyder cuts.
He's talking about Universe.
Yeah.
The Snyder cuts the Dark Multiverse. It's terrible. Those Universal movie monsters movies, they sucked. The original ones from like the 1930s and 20s are good. Man, like
they wildly overthought it instead of just having a bunch of like random monsters banging into each other. That's all they needed to do to make it successful. You did not need to build big mythology behind this shit. Just have the monsters smash into
But Godzilla had the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's like they came with Monarch, they ran with it.
Lane Graber says, so was Fatal J crying at home this week because of this news?
Yes.
He had to take some time off of work, from what I'm told. He's very upset that the Zack Snyder universe is not happening anymore, but Sully is carrying on the dream.
You have to have a dream to live one.
There you go.
Dark Admiral March Hare, Doc's plant-based clone is gonna leave manga or gonna love manga. I suggest Berserk or Beyond Meat, Doc.
Well, that's fine. It's not me. It's just some plant-based clone.
better version.
Yes. That's why it would be called the Impossible Doc. Because it's impossible for me to fucking like it.
Impossible Doc.
That's so true. Happy Steve, who's got the nicest looking dog as his avatar. I have never been one to agree with Doc, but this time I have to agree. For me, Endgame was the last Marvel movie I've seen. The quality all around is lower after that movie. Doc is right. No new comics. My goodness. Doc, you're blackpilling people. And Spider-Man No Way Home was good.
I'm not saying that it wasn't good.
And the point was that Falcon in the Winter Soldier was good.
Yes, but everything other than like there, you can find. Look, you can find even on the most tarnished penny, there's still spots that are not covered in tarnish. That doesn't make it a nice looking penny.
Yeah. Think about it this way. It's like Christ. Since Crisis came up earlier, go back to 80 back in the 1980s, where Crisis came out. It's like Marvel after Endgame, MCU is exactly what DC was like to a certain extent after Crisis. It's like you set something up, and then everybody just starts doing their own thing. It's like
it's
that's what it is right now.
The appeal of the MCU was that it had a direction.
Yep.
It had a cohesive,
Amen, brother.
Generally coherent narrative. Everything was building towards something. The problem it had active subplots throughout all the other movies. It's what it's basically the recipe for what made Claremont's X-Men run so great. All the continuing subplots that made you want to see the next movie that even had nothing to necessarily do with the movie you just saw, with totally different characters. Sometimes you still want to go see it because it was advancing the subplots. Endgame ended all the subplots, and they hadn't thought ahead to build in more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're trying to build out now. It's not really working. They should have done Marvel Civil War after Endgame, and that should have been the next event. They probably could have done 3 or 4 movies leading to that one. That would have been smart. Shout out to whoever said that one in the comments section, because it was wasted on just being a Captain America movie. That was absolutely an Avengers level film.
What Marvel really missed out the opportunity to do was to connect Hela from Ragnarok
with Thanos, yes,
as death.
Yes, I agree.
And have, because you would have had something to build from there. Only one of them dies. And you would have had some way to continue the narrative, even if it splinters off in a whole new direction. You would have had something to build from. Instead, all their momentum hit a brick wall there, and now they have to start from a stopped position again.
I can see why people think you're right, Doc.
Gal Lyle says bait and switch doesn't work. Do I need to bring up Last Jedi? And yes, Enchantress was a mistake. The actress was awful, and Shark might be an Aquaman too. Enchantress was the worst thing I've ever seen in a movie. She just sat there and did this for fucking 45 minutes. Yeah, I don't care if she's hot. Like, wasn't enough.
You don't care that she's hot, really.
She has caterpillars that live on her forehead.
It wasn't enough. She's just sitting there dancing, like doing the hokey pokey. I was like, what is this?
I didn't realize how much of this was blocked from my mind.
She literally does that for half the film, Jermaine, and stuff like swirls around her.
The worst part of that movie is having the Enchantress do that with all these magical powers and trying to destroy the world, and she's getting confronted by Harley Quinn with a baseball bat. And somehow we're supposed to believe that that's legitimate.
I like it when the one dude became that enormous like fire god.
That was cool. The fire god was cool.
That was the best character too.
Okay, and R.I.P. Slipknot. Yeah.
Yeah, Last Jedi, let's not talk about that. You're gonna get upset. Carrie, Nerdy Girl creates the MCU needs to slow down on overproducing product and focus on quality. Right now, it's all about quantity. There's way too much MCU stuff right now. They definitely need to rein it in and focus on a better idea, a better vision of what they want it to be. That's really what's destroyed it, Sully. You can see it's going nowhere fast.
Yeah. I don't watch it for that reason. I mean, geez, I missed out on all that Disney Plus stuff. I enjoy you guys.
You didn't miss anything.
I didn't miss anything. Yeah. You know what? I don't want to give them my clicks. That's the most valuable thing to these people, are the metrics that they receive from our views and all this. And then the anti-marketing. I'm like, thank you, Neon at Clownfish TV, for giving me the vocabulary for me to put that thought together. Anti-marketing.
Fantagonism?
Yeah.
And Aaron Sparrow, thank you for fantagonism.
He likes Gremlins too. Let's just forget about Aaron. You know what I mean? Gremlins too.
But this this applies to entertainment in general. Entertainment's all about getting what has the most content as opposed to the best quality. That's what kept Netflix in business, and now they're suffering for it.
You know why Star Wars is the biggest franchise of all time? Because you had to sit there and think about what was coming next for 4 or 5 years before you ever even knew that the sequel was coming out. The same thing with like, you know, was in the theater and it was like, there's a second Lethal Weapon? Like, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. What has it been, like 6 years? What's it all up to?
And the thing about Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, George Lucas never even planned to do a sequel of it. It was just, I never planned to do a sequel, but he took his time to develop it. He got writers that were competent to create the story and whatnot. He wasn't surrounded by yes men. He had checks and balances. That's why the first trilogy. What?
Wait, didn't the scroll in the first Star Wars say Episode 4?
When they re-released it.
They put that in later.
They put that in later.
It was never said Episode 4 A New Hope. It just said Star Wars and went into the scroll.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I've never seen the original cut, so I just figured I'd ask.
It's a treat. It really is.
And Vader wasn't supposed to survive the first time around.
He didn't survive. He died.
No, but that's what one of his guys when they said, we're gonna like basically
Vader wasn't his father.
Bring him out to space.
Yeah, they did a lot of retconning.
If you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, I got the J.W. Rinsler books on Amazon at a ridiculously cheap price recently. They are so worth it. I mean,
are there any pictures in that book?
It's full of pictures. It's so nostalgic too for an old geezer like me. You know, seriously, it's chock full of everything. I mean, check it out.
Yeah. Now they make movies with the intention of being a trilogy. And I think that's why a lot of them failed, Gervais. Like, we're going to make a mummy movie, but really this is going to tie into 4 other things. And they forgot that they needed to make a good mummy movie to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an easy trap to fall into that, basically talking to a lot of people, they really want a story that's a beginning, middle, and end. And it's like, if you're going to, you have to have enough confidence to tell that one story. And then if people love it enough and you have a second story you want to tell them, just go ahead and tell that second story. But yeah, it's like I always like to say, people can smell the marketing from over here. When you're watching something and it's like it looks like you're purposely trying to set up a tentpole franchise, but you don't even get the first story right. That's just a mistake that a lot of people can easily fall into.
It's the same thing that the entertainment industry does across the board.
Yeah.
It's decompressed storytelling. They still only have one movie worth of story, but now they're like, "Ooh, we could totally do a trilogy." Yes, by just doing Act 1 as its own movie, Act 2 is its own movie, and Act 3 is its own movie. That's not storytelling.
No,
it's the same thing that comics does.
No.
Cal Lyle says, but there was the anti-life equation played, and without sounding like Fatal J, I still care about that movie. I imagine he's talking about the Zack Snyder Justice League. I'm not sorry. Don't apologize to me for liking a bad movie. I think Ready to Rumble is really good, even though I know it's terrible. What do you think, Gervais? Did you watch the Zack Snyder cut? It's only 3.5 hours.
Yeah, no, I watched the Snyder cut, and it's like, look.
How much better was it? Because I thought it was marginally better.
I think what it was that it was less. It's kind of like how I feel about the first Matrix movie. It didn't steal as much as the first cut. I mean, when you watch the Joss Whedon version, it's like, is this the Lord of the Rings? Really? This
to one of the greatest science fiction movies of all time, if not the greatest science fiction movie of all time, The Matrix.
The Matrix blatantly and boldly ripped off Aeon Flux, so I'm good with basically saying, I know you don't care. I know you don't care. It's like Snyder fans don't care about this stuff, but that's what happened. And with the Whedon thing, it's like you're literally doing like Lord of the Rings open at the beginning of the film. Are you kidding me? And then with the Snyder thing, the only thing I liked about the Snyder flick was the idea that the only reason why Darkseid and them made a move on Earth was because Superman died. I thought that was a cool idea. I thought that was in terms of like a high level
the extra
conceit.
Hour?
No, but Ananda was finding out that Martha Kent was Martian Manhunter disguised. None of it made sense. It was just like, and he really loves this whole thing of using Leonard Cohen songs to like introduce characters. That part lost me too. That whole Flash scene with hot dogs falling out the pocket off the bus and Hallelujah playing in the background or whatever it was. And maybe that was Aquaman. That part killed me. But I'm like, I like Sucker Punch, so kill me.
Oh my goodness, let's not even go there. Cal
me and my girls love that movie.
I like that movie.
Needs to make characters, especially the female ones, likable. Yes, you should make your heroes likable, and you should make your villains not likable.
That's why they're villains,
and that's why they shouldn't get their own movies.
Yes, you shouldn't be rooting for the villains to win because they're so cool.
No, you don't have to make them likable. They don't. You don't need to like them. You need to understand them. You need to understand what motivates them, what drives them.
People don't go see movies without likable characters, period.
No. I'm not saying that.
You're talking about the villains.
I'm just saying the prerequisite for a character being likable doesn't in Hero. They're not necessarily one for one. I mean, people will watch, Punisher on Netflix. That was a great show. I wouldn't call him a likable character.
I didn't think that was a good show. I thought it was good when it was in Daredevil.
He's compelling. A villain has to be compelling.
You have to be interested in what that person's going through and where they're going and what happens to them, but you don't necessarily have to like them. I mean, Joker is not a likable character. That movie made, we talked about it earlier, made $1 billion. I mean, he's not a likable character by any stretch, but people are fascinated by watching what happens to him.
So it's a pretty big brand name on that movie. If you made that movie and you called it the Prankster, and it wasn't DC movies related, and it didn't need to be for that story, nobody would have watched it. Right.
But yeah,
sometimes we overthink these things, guys. My wife loved Punisher Warzone. I still can't figure it out to this day.
That's a fucking good movie. You're
right. It is, man. I'm not saying that, but I just thought she would be interested in a movie like that. I'm just saying. I was like, she was sitting there. She was like, I fell asleep, and she was like, I watched that all the way through.
Or something. You just couldn't handle all that action. My goodness.
That's not the Thomas Jane one, right? That's the other one.
No, Firestone. Ray Firestone. Yeah, Stevenson. That's who it is. Yeah, she loved that in Peppermint.
That's a fucking good movie, man. Peppermint. You want to put some hair on your balls? Go watch fucking Punisher Warzone.
Yeah, that's true.
Peppermint.
HH from Sigma Comics says,
what's the name?
I know the one you're talking about.
Shout out to the best comic book experts on the interwebs from Baltimore Comic Con. Here Comes Calico issue 6 is on Kickstarter. Back it now. Don't delay. Definitely go up to Kickstarter. Check out Here Comes Calico issue number 6. And if you're in the Baltimore area, go and support HH, the guys from Sigma Comics. While you're there, you can also visit the guys from Comics Lead as well. They are also visiting there. And thank you so much for supporting the channel. Really appreciate that one. And congratulations on all the success, HH. We've got Dylan Lindsay. Dracula Untold was a good movie. They should have just went with it as its own franchise or based off the DEU. They gave too much control to Tom.
Yeah, it didn't make any money. It was a giant. It was a commercial flop. That's why they didn't make it the central part. They're not going to make here. I hate to break it to everybody, but commercial flop movies will not be the cornerstone of a film universe ever. Doesn't matter how good they are and how many people like them and how much of a cult hit they are. If they are not a financial success, they will not be the cornerstone of any universe. It's commercial art. Everything comes down to, does it make money?
All right.
Oh, you do this Vin Diesel thing, deal.
If they stuck with Brendan Fraser as a linchpin character, they could have built off of the Mummy movies from the first round. That would have been better.
My goodness. Let's get over to Marvel Comics. We've got ASM, we got Chasm, Dark Web, the reveal of the new Hobgoblin. And we got Kenneth Dowling, an enormous ASM fan. You were excited about this. You're excited about Dark Web. What you think about ASM number 12? I've been disappointed.
Yeah, Zed Wells' run, it's not the greatest. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to touch Hobgoblin, and you guys know I love Spider-Man, you're touching my boy, Roger Stern, because he created Hobgoblin. He's the man, the best Spider-Man writer ever, in my opinion. But the stories, especially that last issue, seems uneven because now he has one Hobgoblin. Now he's trying to introduce another Hobgoblin. Ned Leeds, he's back as a Hobgoblin, but now there's someone new being the Hobgoblin as well. So I don't know. I'm not really feeling Zed Wells and his writing as Spider-Man so far. So I don't know.
Well, the value in Zeb Wells' run so far has been his character work on the villains. That first section of his run where he built up Tombstone was great. That's the first time I've had some kind of a respect level for Tombstone as a villain. He really put it all out there. Then when he went to Vulture, he kind of started doing the same thing, but it ended really quick. And then now he's moved over to Hobgoblin, and it's just the Hobgoblin part of his run has been very boilerplate mediocre. Spoilers, if you haven't read it, spoilers. 2 Hobgoblins now. It's the original Hobgoblin, which is Roderick Kingsley, and now Ned Leeds is in there as well. And it's something about they put him in the mind machine, and it's making him think that he's really not Hobgoblin, but he is, and sort of like getting into split personalities kind of scenario. It feels very generic, very boilerplate. And again, the same criticism with Wells's run is these big things that happened in issue 1, which was whatever that explosion was in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
whatever happened with MJ, where did Peter disappear to for 6 months, hasn't touched it once since the first issue. And now we're at issue 12. That's almost, I know we've had some like bi-weekly stuff, but you're talking about a year's worth of content with a big mystery you introduced, no hints, no clues,
Completely
no nothing.
abandoned.
You completely abandoned it. So if he's going to try and restart the momentum, he's got a really steep hill to climb. And I'm not seeing him being talented enough to pull that off. I'm sorry. I just don't.
I don't fucking trust him to do it at this point. And honestly, I don't care anymore. That's the problem. That's the problem whenever you don't even like try. I hate to break this to all of the modern comic book writers, but none of you know how to do a single fucking subplot to save your goddamn life. You have to keep it active, as in a panel here, a page there, half of a page for all I care. You could do it as just the top 3 panels of a line before you change focus again to a different scene. I don't care how you do it. You have to keep it going at least every other issue. You have to at least bring it up that it's still active. Otherwise, people stop caring. Yep. Every single one of you writers that has tried to do subplots in the last 10 years has failed this basic rule.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're saying the executive producer of the She-Hulk series is not going to stick the landing?
Yeah,
oh my goodness. What do you think of the art so far? Because I'm looking at those covers. I'm a long-time John Romita Jr. fan, going back to pre-200 Uncanny X-Men. And I loved, it's the same art team. It's him and Scott Hanna. And this was the J. Michael Straczynski battery as well. But I mean, this recent JR Jr. art, what is up with it? I'm finding it unsatisfactory and a little flat. And I'd like to know what you guys think.
It was all right. I think it's been all right.
It's up and down.
I don't know. Is that a spider glider he's on in that last issue? That last cover?
Yes.
Norman Osborn gives him a spider glider. And
he's upgraded with Goblin tech now.
Yeah.
We're gonna have no brain cells left when this.
I'm not a fan of Junior's bobbleheaded children. That was really weird. There were a few scenes where the faces got really distorted and wonky, so that's weird. Some of the panels look great, some don't. It's very uneven, just like the rest of the series. Mm-hmm. And to Doc's point, that's exactly right. When you have these big momentous things that happen in the first issue, you want to carry that moment, at least build the mystery to keep people guessing, to keep them engaged, you want to tease them. So far, every single time that Wells has introduced a scene that reminds you about those mysteries, all those scenes do are just remind you that those mysteries there, but don't add anything to them. So MJ will pop up with these kids that come out of nowhere that you don't even know where they came from, but nothing adds into the mystery to kind of give you little clues or hints or tips to give you something to think about, like a puzzle. You have to have little pieces to kind of start guessing and surmising and coming up with your own theories. He's giving you nothing. He reminds you the mysteries are there, but he does nothing to add to them to kind of give you clues to kind of guess along with the rest of the story.
And additionally, her having kids with Sean King, apparently that there's nothing even in that initial story, that initial issue. There was that was the result of where MJ went after the fact. It has nothing to do with the actual mystery of what Peter did. It has to do with MJ. We know that MJ left for some reason, and she got married to and adopted Sean King's kids. But other than that has nothing to do with the actual mystery. That's just we know that the consequences, we just keep getting reminded everybody hates Peter, and MJ left again. That's it. Nothing about the mystery. There has not been a single additional piece of information on what actually happened. All we get reminded is, a thing happened that everybody hates Peter. Everybody hates Peter. And then they got to the point where they're just like, everybody hates Peter. We don't even know why. They're not even going to bother to remind you that there was a mystery of a thing that he did. Just everybody hates Peter. That
it's-
they're just abandoning it to go to here's the status quo. Everybody
It's
hates
funny,
Peter.
but in a sad, funny way is if you read the preface page at the beginning of the last several ASMs where they kind of recap what happened previously, it always says something like something happened in Pennsylvania. That's all it says. It says something happened in Pennsylvania. They don't even give you anything in the preface. Nothing. It's just a black box. It's just sitting there.
It's a J.J. Abrams story. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is no momentum coming up. There is no momentum generated for those mysteries. And if Wells thinks he's just going to restart it with some cool issue, folks have moved on. They've checked out from the mystery, and that's his fault. That him and Nick Lowe. That's their fault for doing
Kenneth,
that.
one of the big issues is it keeps getting derailed, whether it be like, oh, we got to celebrate, 80 or 60 years of Spider-Man, or now we're going to go and it's going to tie into Devil's Reign. Now it needs to tie into Axe Judgment Day, even though that wasn't supposed to be a Spider-Man thing. And then it's leading into this X-Men, Spider-Man crossover. It's like, how about we just tell the fucking story instead of getting derailed every 5 seconds because you need Spider-Man, tied into the event to sell more copies.
I absolutely agree. Like with Gabe, how you started out, what he did with Tombstone, I agree. I really like that. That's some of the best Tombstone writing I've ever seen with that character. But like what Doc was saying, I'd rather the main focus of the story focus on what did he do, what happened, focus on that mystery, have clues. I do it like a Batman detective story. What is it that he did? Why is it that? What did he do that drove people away so much? That has his aunt mad with him. And yeah, it's in fact. Remember what's that writer who did Nightwing? Your boy Nightwing, Wes. He had a Nightwing. Kyle Higgins. Kyle Higgins. Remember, Kyle Higgins took over Nightwing, but he got distracted with the Court of
Every
Owls.
event. Yes. Yeah, they kept throwing it out into different directions. Yes.
Exactly. It's the same situation here. It's like you're starting something, but you're getting distracted by all these huge events with X-Men and whatnot. Even though I like Chasm as a character, what does that have to do with how you started the story with what Peter did? Like refocus, focus on what you started with. Like this makes no sense.
So like no hints in 12 months, you're saying?
Yes.
Or 12
my
issues.
God.
They had some
Really?
by
All right.
Pretty much. Yeah.
7 months.
It's been
but still, I mean, not a single hint, nothing.
nothing.
Yeah, this enormous status quo changes. Aunt, who loves him more than anybody, won't even talk to him, but they haven't touched it once.
Yeah.
Sorry, Doc.
They have not. Honestly, they've stopped even bringing it up. They've just. It started with a mystery, but honestly, it was a mystery that I think they realized didn't have any real legs.
I think that's it.
I got to figure it out. It's Mysterio's secret kid sidekick named Memory Hole.
Yes,
Memory
exactly.
got it.
I got it.
That crater is a huge plot hole that Peter got trapped and can't get out. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, but to go back to the main topic. I mean, if you're going to do something with Ben Reilly, a Chasm was an okay direction, and they set that up pretty decently.
Good look.
It's a good look, like the costume, everything else. So,
Yes.
I mean, if you're gonna confront Peter Parker with his clone again for I don't know how many times in the last few decades, I mean, at least this is a slightly different direction. So, okay, fine.
Well, they keep.
But I mean, it's really starting to get tired and rehashed and retreaded, and I think folks are just struggling to find a reason to get hyped over this stuff because it just feels like more of the same.
Well, plus, honestly, they haven't. I don't think that this is even all that great. Chasm, visually and narratively, he's Venom.
Yeah.
He's
techno Venom. He's techno Venom.
He's techno Venom. The last time Ben Reilly showed up, he was the Jackal. So every time he shows up, what's he going to be next? Is he going to be Dr. Octopus next?
Donkey Slayer.
Is he going to be Boomerang next? All he does is fill the same role that an existing villain already did that they've taken off the table. That's it.
I think this relationship is a lot more intimate and closer than what Venom is, because with Venom, it's all about Eddie Brock and how he got Eddie Brock fired and all that stuff, and also with his relationship with the alien costume, how they had an intimate relationship.
But it's
That's fine,
still
too, but
it's still resentment of Peter and Spider-Man taking a life that should be his. That it's the exact same narrative.
But I thought he got over it, Doc. I thought they like came to peace with that.
Yes, except for then the whole thing with Chasm, the whole story of like the establishment of Chasm's origin in the Spider-Man Beyond is all of his memories, like the artificial memories. They started fucking with it, and it basically voided out his sense of self.
If this is written well, which it may not be, but if it was written well, this could be a tragic Shakespearean-like story about two brothers, but one wants his other brother's life that he can't have, so he's going to kill him and try to take it. I think it's more intense. But if it's written well, I think it can be something like that, something Shakespearean or Machiavellian, something like that. Now, will we get that? I don't know. But I do like this version of Ben Reilly as this villain. It is cool.
Yeah, they have a brotherly relationship, so there's more to it than that. But the only way you can pull that off as a tragedy is Ben would have to die.
Wouldn't be the worst thing.
Yeah.
Again.
Again.
And then he'll clone himself again.
I think it's interesting having the clones team up. You got Jeannie's clone and you got Peter's clone.
You've also got 3 more clones in Miles Morales Spider-Man that were introduced.
Really? I heard about that. Yeah. Oh, cool. So it's going to be like a clone war. The Clone Wars. Where have I heard that before?
Oh, great. Because what we really need is let's take a clone saga and an X-Men clone saga.
Yeah.
More clone saga.
And then we could just do no.
What about clones human rights, dude? Yeah.
Fuck them. Fuck them clones.
All right,
clones.
That's Westworld.
this is what
That should be the
Draper
title.
had to say.
Fuck them clones. That should be the title.
Kenneth Lade says they said in number 11 of ASM they plan to mess around with the big mystery of MJ and what happened in 2023, but will we be at issue 25 or 26 by then?
So we gotta wait 10 more issues.
Yeah. Well, it depends on when in 2023. So I mean, as soon as
it's not going to be early because Dark Web goes through February, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to wait at least another 6 issues before they even can touch it.
Because we're
That's
in
ridiculous.
Spider-Man, we're in issue 14, right? And he said this
12 just came out. 12 just came out.
12 was this week.
Oh, 12. I'm sorry, 12. So yeah, we gotta wait. What? 12 more issues?
At least 6, but probably closer to 12.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Happy Steve
Asking way too
says,
much.
anyone else horrified by spiders in your eyes in ASM?
Well, but I mean, technically, they weren't like spiders. They weren't real spiders. They were more like nanite drone kind of spiders. They were mechanical, not real. But it was kind of
It's
gross.
more
yeah.
terrifying. It's a robot
Yeah,
spider.
but Hobgoblin brushed that off way too quick. They could that scene could have played out better. He brushed it off way too quick.
Yeah. Christopher, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I guess there's a little confusion here. I did get your question, but then you sent another super chat. So if you have another question after this one, definitely put that in there and I'll have a look. I'll be on the lookout for it. Christopher says Marvel continues to make Peter a loser and now a bipolar simp as a Norman apologist. I miss MJ and then the kiss Felicia. Then he kisses Felicia.
Mhm.
Peter's soul sucks, ending marriage and now accepting a glider. I quit reading the ASM memo. That's one of the issues. They're doing a little bit too many new things here, Kenneth. Like, why would Peter Parker ever trust Norman Osborn ever in his life?
He gives chances. Peter's a good person.
He's
We know
not
this.
stupid though. He's a
not
Right,
genius.
but he's
You
probably.
can only try to murder him so many times, right?
I mean, Peter is smart.
No,
We
I
have to
agree.
trust Peter. Should we? Or we don't trust the
Peter-
writer.
Peter,
But-
the thing about Peter Parker, he has affability and he believes in people, but he's also at least a coherent writer has to have Peter learn from his mistakes and keep Norman Osborn at a distance. No, I've always heard.
fairness-
Yeah, go ahead. What not?
I was going to say, in fairness, he has been very, very skeptical of Norman at every single step. And anytime there's even
the new uniform,
yes, but anytime that there's he's ready to turn on Norman and not give him the benefit of the doubt at every.
what if that new
possible
costume
time.
Doc Oxham and like chips it?
I'm pretty
could
sure
be
he
some-
was smart enough to look for shit like that in it, but hey, maybe not.
Yeah, I'll give Wells credit, especially in this recent issue, number 12, where there was revealed about the two hobgoblins. Peter's really keeping a close eye on Norman, and to his face, he's telling you, "I don't trust you as far as I can throw you. If I find out you're doing X, Y, and Z, I'm going to bet you all over you." So he's doing a good job of that. And then when you look at what Norman's doing, he's busy designing his, I guess it's the Golden Goblin suit or whatever that's going to turn out to be. So far. I think Peter's playing it right, and Zeb Wells is doing a good job of at least laying that piece of the relationship out. It could change. You never know.
He's a simp and a Norman apologist, Gabe. What the hell, man?
No, he's not apologizing for Norman. As a matter of fact, he was expressing some, he was highly irritated that Norman lied to him about the meeting with Kingsley. So that scene played out well. I like that tension there between them. He's working with him, but he's keeping a close eye on him. It's not a trusting relationship by any stretch.
Did you like him making out with Felicia Hardy again instead of trying to make things right with MJ?
That was stupid. It was stupid. There was
at
no
some point,
reason for it.
At some point, Felicia's going to be tired of being a side chick.
She's just like a side piece.
Yeah, she's the backup piece.
Yeah, give
But
her some
maybe-
agency, Zeb.
But here's the thing: Peter Parker sees that MJ has moved on with this new guy, and she's like, Felicia, she's been chasing me all these years. Let me give Felicia a shot. Maybe he's trying to go steady with Felicia and have them do something, because they did it in this run with Roger
He
Stern.
needs to say bye, Felicia.
Bye.
Mhm.
This reeks of Mysterio. Peter's in a tank somewhere, gassed out of his.
They just
tree,
did a
imagine.
Mysterio story at the end of
Didn't they?
the Nick Spencer's run, right?
Yeah, but the
Mysterio
trouble with MJ is you don't understand how she hooked up with this new guy. Where did he come from? Who he is? What's the situation? Is he a
Why the
rebound
kids calling
guy?
him,
Because is he a rebound guy because MJ and Peter had a big blow up, or is he secretly controlling MJ in the background and we just don't know? There's all kinds of, so you don't understand the nature of their relationship, and if you can't get behind whether or not that's a better relationship than she has with Peter, there's always going to be this lingering doubt that there's something off about it because it's comics. You don't trust it. Of course, you don't trust it. But because Wells has not filled that in, you don't know what to make of it. So it just sort of sits there like another black box.
He did pay
Cal
Peter
Miles.
bills.
Caleb says the problem with modern comics writers is they can't read Shakespeare and won't read him because he's a straight white man. God damn it, Gervain. What the hell's wrong with you guys?
Yeah, at this point, man, as long as I've been in the show, that might actually be a totally salient and legitimate point.
But Gervain, I remember you made a point about, I brought up Aaron Sorkin and how you compared him to Shakespeare, how he uses the Shakespearean model of seeing both sides of an argument, right? To be or not to be, life and death, that stuff. So I think modern writers should read Shakespeare. He's the most successful writer in today's time after what? 1,000 years for a reason. Everyone does.
Well, it's whoever gets the biggest
Hollywood,
soliloquy.
Yes.
Central Park,
Wonderful.
Shakespeare. So,
I've seen this axiom over and over again. The best writers are voracious readers. They have to be constantly exposed to how other people
Yes.
turn the phrase,
Thank
turn
you.
the scene, trying to figure that out. If somebody tells you that they're like I've gotten into some arguments with people over this. If somebody says, "Well, I want to be a writer," or if it's comics or whatever else, and I ask them, "Well, how much are you reading?" And they say, "Well, I don't read much."
Like there you go. Right.
Yeah,
Writers
you should be
are
reading other
readers.
people's work.
I'm
Writers are
reading.
readers. They have to
like-
expose themselves to other styles, other character, other ways of doing. They have to expose themselves to as many perspectives as possible. If you say somebody tells you they're a writer and they're not a voracious reader, they're never going to be any good at it.
Yeah, it's also because you're not just finding stuff that works, but also you find out what doesn't work. And
Exactly.
that's the other important part. Yeah.
Bill Lindsay says, if everyone hates Peter, why would Ben want his life?
Good call. Better than a bad life's better than no life.
They messed
What
that
is
well,
one
Ben
he's
up.
Riley
nothing
doing
now.
like-
That energy glob inherited him. Now he's like this energy ghost phantom or whatever he is. His design kind of looks like Spider-Man 2099, Doc. He's Spider-Man 2099, but
Doc's out.
Oh, okay.
He's taking a number 2 or something. Common Sense wants to know, Kenneth, do you think they should? Do you think Dark Web event should revive Bill Urich?
I thought he was alive. Wasn't Bill Urich in the issue?
Ben, you died in
Ben is
Netflix.
Ben's the reporter that died. Yeah.
Phil
Oh, he
York is
died
his
in the
son, right?
comics
That
as well as the
Green
Netflix?
Goblin hero.
Oh, so he died in
Yep.
the comics too.
Okay.
Yeah, he's alive. He was mind messed with by the X-Men when he had a story about how they resurrected.
Cyclops.
So,
Yeah, the
what is
whole.
this? So he's alive. What do you mean revive him? He's already alive.
That's Ben Urich. Phil's.
Oh,
Phil
okay.
dead?
I thought it was only one year.
I think he means Ben.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I know he died in the
Why not?
Netflix
It's comics.
Daredevil show.
It's comics. Why
Revive
not?
everybody.
Brutally.
Well, if it's Ben Urich, he's already alive. But
So bring back Phil York. Bring them all back.
bring them all back. Dark Admiral Marchair. Honestly, they should have never brought Norman Osborn back. He should have stayed dead.
Yes.
It cheapens the death of Gwen Stacy, by opinion.
Yes.
Like Norman
They should,
Osborn is Peter Parker's Joker to his Batman. I mean, it's just this is your literary cipher. You know, this is what you need, this balance of hero and classic villain. I mean, and who is Peter's ultimate challenge? And they nailed it in the movie No Way Home. They brought back Norman Osborn, and it was a kludgy kind of fit. But you know what? I had a fun, and that is a great. There is no other like head-to-head.
Phil Urich is Goblin King.
Oh,
I would argue Hobgoblin is Spider-Man's best villain, but that's just my opinion. Hobgoblin.
I thought the Goblin
go,
Queen was the thing right now.
I would go with Octavius for Spider-Man because they're two sides of the same coin.
He knocked the boots out of his aunt. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty devious.
And his wife.
Back from that.
Nice.
Parker and Octavius, they're both tech geniuses in their own right. But one took the accidental power that went with him and he turned into a hero. The other one that took the accidental power and became a villain. And so they're two sides of the same coin in that respect. And I think that's a closer analog to the Batman-Joker relationship.
Yep.
Callum wants to know, is Peter bad in bed? Is that why she broke up with him?
Why are y'all dissing Peter Parker?
A failed Saturday evening.
His daddy has no money.
We know he's got no money.
Nobody's dissing Peter Parker worse than Marvel.
It's true.
But no, they do that. He's your flagship character, and people they treat Spider-Man like he's always the joke or something, or the butt of people's jokes. I don't like that.
They forgot that he grew up and he's not 15 years old anymore. TY says, loving the failsafe arc, Batman's paranoia personified.
Yeah.
I agree with him, Kenneth. That's a really good story. I just wish it wasn't so repetitive to what they've done previously, but as a standalone, it's really good.
It's true. He's Batman Terminator. He's like the Dark Multiverse. I have all those different kinds of Batmans. That's Batman Terminator. That's exactly what he is.
Yeah, this is a damn good series. Well illustrated, too. Too bad they just spoiled everything.
I'm still going to read it. I saw your video.
Yeah.
I still read it. But they shouldn't. You're right. I agree. They
stupid.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Let's see if we can get a couple more topics in. We've got the DC Lazarus Planet details, and I'm highly skeptical of this one, Gabe. We got all the new writers associated with it. We got a bunch of people coming over from YA and, well, basically anywhere but comic books themselves. And it looks like this new era, Dawn of DCU, might just be what Infinite Frontier was, Gabe.
This pencil is more interesting than the Lazarus Planet event.
It's good for cassette tapes too.
Okay, so this is October. Right. This is October, and so now we have the January solicits for DC, and I was waiting for that because the January solicits tell you what DC looks like, at least starts to look like, coming out of Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, Esquire, Part 7 of 5. The next generation, whatever it is. And what all it shows you is more of the same, setting up the next event, which is Lazarus Planet. It just looks like they're taking everything that happened with Robin pretty much and the devil Neza or the demon Neza, and then building that into another event where everybody gets corrupted and all these things start to happen. It's
Dark Knight's death metal. Dark Knight's metal. It's the same stuff over and over.
Right. Everybody's corrupted and everybody's turning evil. Right. How is that not different than all these different, Dark Knight's Batman, where one is Batman in the Flash and one is Batman in Green Lantern and one is Batman in the car. Remember, wasn't there a mashup where Batman became the Batmobile?
He became a super truck or monster truck. He became a castle.
How is this much different than that? I mean, the semantics are different, but it's just take all the villains and then we're going to subvert them into something different for the level of this event. But the big thing that kind of irked me about all that is because coming out of it's supposed to be a sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Crisis on Infinite Earths is supposed to reset the universe. That's what it did in theory. Dark Crisis was supposed to be a successor to that, and it looks like from all accounts none of that is happening. It is a throwaway event. All of this talk about Dark Crisis and the big thing for 2022, it's meaningless. It's nothing. So you're going into January and all they're doing is more of the same. So we're going to take the Lazarus Pits, which is a resurrection protocol, hint, X-Men and Krakoa, and all they're doing is reproducing what they're doing over on the X titles. Creating this event where everybody can be resurrected, and when they get resurrected, they turn into different things, or maybe they're not quite the same.
There are other worlds where they're corrupted versions now.
Yeah.
There are other words. So,
and you already kind of did this with Brightest Day, like right after Blackest Night, you get the White Lantern rings that were bringing back fallen heroes, and then
it could be good. Right. It could be good. You never know. But at the same time, when you describe it and you show the material where it's just like Batman has Dr. Fate's head and all these other things, it just looks like low effort. Let's just throw something at the wall and see if we can make a story out of it. Now, Mark Waid's involved, and so far he's been doing great with the World's Finest.
Batman versus Robin #2 wasn't great.
No, but right. No, it wasn't. But 1 out of 8 or 9 or 10, I'll take that. I'll take those odds. I'll take those odds. So it could be good. But right now, there's nothing in here that looks like it's cause for excitement. That's just me. Others might feel different.
You mean City Boy isn't getting you like all in the feels?
What's his sidekick? A pigeon?
Basically.
A hot dog truck? A food truck? This is like his wheels.
Boy. It sounds like something Doc made up for his comic books. You know what I mean?
I have yet to hear anyone, a reviewer, another writer, co-creators, marketing, anybody mention DC Lazarus Planet and do it with excitement and hype. Not one person. I have yet to find one person that is hyped for this.
But it's Monkey Prince's coming out party, so it's like finally those first 3 issues that I bought will be worth something now.
A, how dare you? B, you're probably right. So we're just gonna leave it at that.
I mean, I'm looking at the numbers of the issue numbers. There are no issue numbers. It goes like there's an alpha. And then there's an Omega issue. Like, what is this? Like,
so exactly what Marvel does with their stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that only worked with Age of Apocalypse. It hasn't worked since.
Yes.
So whatever would have worked.
There you go.
Yep. Well, that's because
the entire event is pointless. There is there's no point to this event.
Question:
We're gonna find out who are the 3 ladies that claim the Ravens' siblings.
Don't care.
Really?
Guys, quick question.
Who's City Boy? Sorry.
Basically, that's what I'm concerned about.
Right. In one of the stories, there's the thing involving Mercy, right? That's the bodyguard for Lex Luthor. Is she
written by Megan Fitzmartin?
Oh, right. Jesus.
Is there a story where she's turned into like a robot or a cyborg or something?
Maybe she's always been a cyborg, explaining her powers and quicknesses and her toughness.
I want to bring in the Millennium storyline back. Yeah.
Man, we've had that before where Mercy was not, entirely biological. That's not new. That's not a new thing, but they're just building on it.
I just saw one of the covers and I'm thinking, is that what they're doing with her? Because like half of her is her body and the other's like mechanized. So I mean, like they're gonna make her like a cyborg,
like schematic.
Yeah, and John Kent is now Superman Blue again.
Yeah, the lightning Superman.
That actually looks cool in my humble opinion. I
didn't say it didn't look cool. I'm just saying that was a stupid era as Superman and nobody wants it back.
Doc Knight, another mashup.
Doc Knight is a Superman or a Batman that just craps on everybody.
Puts on the Doc Knight. He's put on Dr. Fate's helmet. There's Doc Knight.
Doc Knight. I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. That sounds about right.
That didn't even make sense for the helmet, because when you turn on the helmet, when you put on the helmet of Fate, it turns you into Dr. Fate. So why does he have the helmet on, but he still has on his Batman costume for the rest of his body? That didn't even make sense.
Jay Michael says Mercy Graves was always a cyborg in comics, and it looks like Lazarus Planet is making her a real boy with special abilities. Just like
thank you, Trey. Thank you for that, Trey.
Good to see you, Trey.
Nice.
Are you excited for that? Is she going to survive the transformation now that she has organs?
Give her a heart. You know, if I only had a heart.
Man.
If I only had a heart.
Doc, are you going to dress up as City Boy for Halloween this year?
I'm going to go with no.
City Boy.
Boy, anything boy does not belong in anything other than DC Comics, so sure.
Apple puts ass on Claremont coming back to X-Men. Extreme X-Men starts next month. Chris Claremont and Salvador LaRocca.
Not buying it. I'm not buying new comics. I don't care.
Well, it wasn't a question
look
for you.
at it.
He was talking to me.
Is it in continuity?
No, it's member berries.
Yeah. It's
It's
kind of a
more-
continuity night.
It's Claremont. Hey, Claremont, one of the greatest writers in comic book history. His X-Men one. So I'm gonna look at it.
But Salvador LaRocca too. He's an incredible artist.
Except that Chris
was an incredible artist.
Chris's
He's a tracer now.
Chris's skills lie in long form storytelling. Putting him on one shots and miniseries belies his it actually is counterproductive to him. He is not good on short term storytelling. He needs to be able to start planting seeds that won't grow for 3 years.
You know what's counterproductive, Doc?
What?
Me bringing up Chris Claremont in a DC Comics.
Yes.
What the hell was I thinking? Callan Lyle wants to know, DC modern writers come off of the short bus or their trades.
Not entirely wrong.
Oh my
That's a point. You might be right. Goblin Sense. This is a Kenneth Dowling special. Brother Eye Obok versus Failsafe. Who wins?
Failsafe. Because
Batman would have already thought about how to destroy Brother Eye. And
he created both of them, right?
Yeah.
Failsafe is a mechanized version of Batman. Failsafe's going to know how it works. So, boom.
All Failsafe is, and honestly, all that the going back to that whole Tower of Babel thing, all it is the exact same story that Joe Kelly and Steven Seagal did in X-Men and Uncanny X-Men with the Hunt for Xavier, with the Xavier files, characters that the Sentient Cerebro built, created in order to fight off the X-Men because it knew all their weaknesses from Xavier's files. It's the same fucking story.
You talking about the Failsafe story or the Brother Eye OMAC?
Both. Well, mostly Failsafe, but Brother Eye and OMAC as well.
Failsafe is just Ultron, but better.
He's Voltron.
He's Battron.
He's Battron.
Pretty damn good story, if you ask me. I've quite enjoyed it. We got time for one more topic. We're not talking about the worst era in X-Men because that's a 45-minute discussion with Doc. Let's talk about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and the reactions that we've gotten so far. Kenneth, it looks pretty promising. People are talking about it like it's the greatest movie of all times. Are you excited?
But can you trust these critics? These are the same critics that like She-Hulk, aren't they?
I don't know if they like She-Hulk, but they said they did.
Some do. Honestly, I don't want to see this movie, but I feel I have to. I don't know.
You have to. You have to.
For the funeral?
A Black Panther movie without Black Panther?
I can't go. You have to go for me, Kenneth. You have to take this bullet from me because I cannot go this weekend. I'm not allowed.
You know what? I like you, Sullivan. I'll do that.
Javane, you're welcome to as well. But you know,
look, they got me scared because those critics, as much as they keep talking about, they keep saying you feel the link. So I'm like, I don't know about that, man. They're like, you feel the link. You feel the link to the movie. I'm like, bro, I can't do 2.5 hours. Y'all be killing me with that joint.
Remember back in the day where every movie was an hour and a half unless it was like an Oscar movie?
Yes. 100 minutes. 100 minutes was
a cartoon
the standard
was
length.
Like an hour and 10 minutes.
That was my problem with Black Adam. It went on for 20 minutes too long. It was 2 hours, 4 minutes, and that's short for a superhero movie these days, but still.
Fucking Harry Potter. I'm trying to watch with my kids, like 2.5 hours each.
Bro.
How do they pay attention?
When you gotta take 2 bathroom breaks during the fucking movie, and not because you drank like a soda larger than your head at the theater. And that's just like, hey, I got a 20-ounce bottle of soda and I'm gonna sit and watch a movie. and you got to take 2 fucking bathroom breaks, your movie's too fucking long.
My mom used to go. She used to wait for the commercial breaks. When's the commercial coming up? It's taking too long. It's like,
remember when movies used to have intermissions?
You know,
Yeah.
Gone with the
it's
Wind,
like,
exactly.
oh.
But no, someone once said this, like, this movie isn't even about Black Panther. It's about the death of Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman, he never told no one he was dying because he did not want this attention. He wanted to focus on the character. This film is not even about Black Panther or even about Chadwick Boseman. This is about the filmmakers and the cast grieving for the death of Chadwick Boseman. That's what this movie's for. It's not about Black Panther. So
supposedly Shuri's going to be Black Panther, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
True.
Yeah,
and that was a great comic book run. Not.
Remember, Kenneth,
Well, that's true,
Black Panther is not a character. It's a mantle to be swapped around and worn like a skin. Just put it on
Hey, wasn't Storm Black Panther for like 5 minutes?
Probably.
Wasn't Storm Black Panther for 5 minutes?
No, she was married.
She was married to T'Challa.
No, she was
Black Panther too.
I memory hold that entire thing because it was force fed out of left field with and violated 50 years of continuity. So I ignored it.
Well, she's got to beat M'Baku to get the Black Panther mantle at this point, unless he just decides to bow out. So that would be a hilarious fight. I'd love to see that fight.
Mm-hmm. But unlike those,
Shuri just knocked the shit out of him.
This is basically the Woman King.
That one alone.
One of the people in the chat say this is just Woman King. That's all it is. It's just
but unlike whenever the mantle swap thing comes up in conversation, unlike the other ways that comes up, like with Captain America and everything else, mantle swapping Black Panther, that's baked into the mythology. That is part of the Black Panther mythology. So if it passes on and makes sense, and that's fine with that. The troubling part with Wakanda Forever is I have no idea what the story's about. Nothing in the promotional material.
There is no story.
It's about grieving for Chadwick. It's about grieving for Chadwick Boseman. That's not
a story.
It's not, and that's why I have no interest in seeing
problem. I want to. All I've done so far is, pays homage or tribute or a proper respect to his memory. Fine, and some really good visuals from what we've seen in the trailer and stills and everything else, but. What's the story? Why should I be invested in this? If people are saying, well, we're going to bring people in to pay respect to Chadwick Boseman, I mean, I don't say this to sound insensitive. I didn't know the man. I didn't. So, to go through all the expense and the scheduling, the trouble of everything else for the average person to go to pay respect to an.
I mean, they had to change it because it was
know.
written around him, but he just didn't tell anybody he was basically dying. And so they had to rewrite it based on that. I mean, the thing is, like, when you look at the Ironheart bit, it's like, unless they're playing off of the whole Wakanda, like, embassy joint, like they set up the embassies all over the world and that's how she gets connected. But I agree with that. It's like you still don't quite get a feel for what's at stake here. What's the story supposed to be about? Is it Wakanda versus
Atlantis?
New Atlantis?
Atlantis.
I don't know. No, I know they're calling it Laka on something like that. But I don't know. But whatever.
Layer, right?
Yeah, make that.
Titicaca.
Is it?
But
you don't
I mean, I don't know because it feels like it's from Hickman's run.
That's the point. Is they're not giving you anything about what is the story. Yeah. You don't have to tell me the story, but at least give me an idea of what is the conflict. What are this something? Give me something. And all we've seen so far is people weeping over Chadwick Boseman, which is fine, great, and I feel sad that the man died, and nobody wants that. But that's not a story. That's not enough. Exactly. That's not something that people die all the time. And people that are a lot closer than me have died. That's not something that drives me to go pay for premium movie ticket prices and go to an IMAX theater and all that stuff. You got to give me something more than that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound cold-hearted. You've got to give me something more than that. And they haven't given me.
You're a callous son of a bitch, is what you are.
I'm a cold-hearted bastard.
When Heath Ledger died as a Joker, you didn't see a whole movie memorializing Heath Ledger. No, they just didn't have Joker.
Just because he got most of the work in though before he died. So.
But listen, my point, you didn't have a whole movie of Dark Knight Rises dedicated to the passing of Heath Ledger. They made another movie for the Joker with freaking Joaquin Phoenix, and he won an Oscar himself.
Well, that's because they got shook. So they admit that they got shook by the fact that they didn't want to recast them because they were afraid of the backlash. So, I mean, I would have never let that one leak out. It's like, if you're going to recast them, just recast them. But it's like, yeah, I mean, look, I haven't seen the movie. I go with whoever's made the first one about, do you want to? No, but that's apparently the stuff that you said. That's what somebody said. Somebody said that they were concerned about recasting him because of backlash, whatever that means. It's like the dude died. It's like, he died. It's like you just need to recast the character.
Terrence Howard got recast.
But why would you think there would be backlash about you recasting the charter? Now, if you're not going to do that, then you do this.
Right. This movie should have been postponed. Wait another year or two. Let all the grief die. Don't let people grieve for Chadwick Boseman. Then after a year, recast him, recast T'Challa, and let the movie come out. People would have gotten over it.
Right, but I strongly suspect that Black Panther, the character, somehow plays into whatever's going on with Phase 4, and that was their plan moving forward. That's probably why, as a guess, that's probably why they didn't delay it, because they said if we hold up, Black Panther, that character, is central to whatever's going to happen with Kang.
He's probably going to be the leader of the next Avengers.
Right, for something like that. So if we held it up, we hold up everything else. So they had to push forward with something. I mean, again, this could be a great movie. But you're not giving me, other than pay respect to Chadwick Boseman and great visuals, you're not giving me anything to compel me to go see this movie. Oh, I got to see something. Okay, well, you got to give me more than what they give me so far. So the reaction,
dude that played Thunderbolt Ross died. Are they going to make a movie about him dying too before?
Exactly.
But people not going to see the movie because, or is the problem that Chadwick Boseman is not in it, or is that is it the Namor thing? I mean, you go to see the movie again because you enjoyed the first one.
They recasted Rhodey.
They want the Black Panther in the movie,
but they recasted.
I'll give you that.
I don't give a fuck about a Black Panther movie without the Black Panther. The end.
Exactly.
There's a Black Panther in there. It's just
I don't give a shit. It's not the one that anybody wants to see.
Do you think that this is
they recast the War Machine twice? Terrence Howard was there. With Don Cheadle. No one cares.
Like I said, the idea, the rationale behind not recasting Black Panther is highly suspect and dubious. That's all I'm saying. You say you saying you didn't want to do it because you anticipated backlash. Backlash from who and based on what? That was amazing. The fact that statement got released into the atmosphere is amazing to me. I'm like, come on now. Yeah. It's like, and it's not like you're doing it just on a whim. You're doing it out of necessity. So it just picks up. I mean, you delayed a Blade movie for whatever reason's going on over there for like another year. It's like, come on, guys. It's like,
ready.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But anyway,
we do have a few super chats. Callum asks, will Lazarus ungay John and Tim? I'd write that as a justified FU to Megan and Taylor. No.
Those characters are dead. They're dead. Don't worry. Pretend they never existed. The end.
Yeah, that's over.
Carrie Nerdigirl creates Kenneth. You have to go because Twitter says Eric is not allowed, but he's required to buy your ticket.
Shall I Venmo you?
Eric, I'll get both of us tickets, and you're coming with me. You're going to see it together.
Okay.
That's
okay.
This is for everyone. We have.
I would go.
People, I'm tired of this whole divisive stuff with people mad at the past, and you got to be mad at white people. It's all divisive. No, we all need to see this together because it's for everybody.
Right.
We all have our own ethnicities. We all have our own stories. We need to join together. Yeah, I'm tired of all the stuff coming from Disney with Star Wars, dividing people, calling their fans racist and misogynists because they're making weak stories featuring those characters. Like, I'm tired of it. So I like
good.
That.
I'll buy the
Eric,
ticket.
You still need to buy his ticket though.
I'll buy the I would gladly buy the ticket. For some charm company. Some charmed company, man. That's about it. Go to the movies together as friends.
Yes.
That's the spirit. And that's the spirit of these teams as well. Come on, because Black Panther didn't do it alone. He had family, he had allies and friends. And I don't mean allies in this modern fucking bullshit sense. I mean, people that genuinely didn't like him siding with him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Caleb says it's the Woman King in bald lesbians.
What? No, they're not bald.
They're based off of that story.
They like men. One of them had a couples fight in the first one. What are you talking about? They're not lesbians.
No, the one actress is talking about it was really important for her.
What's that? Michonne? She wasn't a lesbian in Walking Dead either. So what's the point? Come on, it's like she was the one that was arguing with the Hill border guy. You know, they were having a spat because they didn't agree about the fact that T'Challa wouldn't kill the guy who killed his father for him. Come on, guys.
Elf says they recasted 3 actors in the MCU. That's correct, sir.
T'Challa has killed people.
That's true.
He will kill people.
Exactly. So why was he so squishy about this one? He should have did his boy right. It killed him.
He spent the entire Civil War movie trying to murder somebody.
Exactly.
Whether they were in custody or not.
Exactly.
Like,
and he was white.
Yeah, but that makes the whole.
He was the best in Captain America: Civil War. That was T'Challa at his best.
See?
Absolutely. He drove the entire movie forward. Everybody else was hanging on by a thread as he was moving everything.
Right. Just remember, Killmonger was right.
But no,
let's not get into that. That's a different conversation.
Right.
By the rule of law, Killmonger should still be ruling. All right, well, let's talk about some comic book recommendations and in this bad boy. Eric, you said you had some great comic books to recommend this week. You were very excited about it. What should people read?
Yeah, actually, it's not really a comic book recommendation, but I didn't go to the comic book store this week.
There better be pictures in this book. I'm telling you. My audience
plenty of pictures. This might be something basic for some of us here, but for anyone in the who are watching and in the live chat, I actually suggest these 2 books every video I do in my daily. I suggest Understanding Comics: The Invisible Art by Scott McCloud and How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way by Stan Lee and John Buscema. And why? I'm going to tell you. Because we are on the outside looking into these comic books, all right? And this is a really great insider's view looking out. Now, Scott McCloud's, this is a crash course in art history. It's about sequential art. It's about styles of storytelling and this beloved hobby that we have, this niche that we have. I love it. And then the Marvel book, it's about perspective, and it's about form, and it's about where the strongest punch lies. This is a great insider's view out from noob to veteran. If you guys don't have these 2 books yet, stop, drop, and giggle. You got a good recommendation right here. Check these out, please. Thank you so much, Wes.
Nice.
I'm so enthused and excited to be here. I'm genuinely blessed. Thank you, guys. Everyone on the panel, everyone in the chat. You guys rule.
Awesome. Let's talk about our sponsor too before we head out. Definitely want to say thank you very much once again to the guys behind Wild Void, Alex, Paul, and the team. If you haven't supported this yet, it's live right now on Indiegogo. I don't think it's near its fixed goal. Yeah, it's they've raised €1,500 so far of the 18,000 fixed goal. Got 28 days to get in there. This is a team from Europe. It's a really cool comic book. It's like a throwback to the 80s. Lots of masculinity, beautiful women, lots of fun and everything going on. If you want to tell DC and Marvel and all of entertainment, we're tired of all your nonsense. We want to return to good storytelling, good action-based stories. You need to go out there and support this Wild Void Gray Eye Origins graphic novel, 80 pages. It's a very good price. The shipping is not going to kill you. It's very affordable. If you're in the U.S., it's only going to be $12. If you're in Europe, it's going to be €10. And if you're the rest of the world, it's going to be $19. Definitely jump on board, and thank you very much to the team behind Wild Void for supporting the channel. Really appreciate them sponsoring today's stream, and it's been a lot of fun doing all this stuff. So congratulations, guys, and hope to hear from you very soon. We've got Callum Lyle. He recommends Lady Death for Doc. Smile, damn it, Doc. Be happy.
No.
Well, sorry, Callum Lyle. You tried. Gervais, what do you recommend this week?
All right, so I'm going to piggyback off of Eric there and recommend 3 more books to what he's talking about if you're trying to get into this stuff. And I would say Comics and Sequential Art by Will Eisner. You definitely want to pick that one up if you're trying to be serious about this. Alan Moore's Writing for Comics, if you can find this one, it's another one. He himself will tell you, do not take this word for word. Do not sit here and just like, as you're writing, flip through the book and do what he does. Take the thoughts behind it, the philosophy behind it, and then apply that to what you're doing today. And then the Cerebrus Guide to Self-Publishing, which if you get into it deep enough, you'll see there's some great stuff in there, especially for the artists about there, about basically how to up your draftsmanship skills. And then in terms of comics, for me, it was Batman Beyond the White Knight #6. DC versus Vampires #10, which I'm not big on the art, but I am enjoying the story. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 101, even though I know it's a new writer, still they've been knocking out the park so far. So I like to see if they can keep it going. And X-Men Legends #3, which I like Javier Pena and Nacenti's on it. So we'll see. Haven't read it yet, but I think that's definitely worth a shot checking out. So those are my recommendations.
Very nice. Kenneth Dowling, I'm glad that you could come back. We talk a little Spider-Man. We talk some movies and stuff. Do you have any comic books you want to recommend?
I certainly
Anybody
do.
else?
And Jervain, you named one of my favorite ones. Batman Beyond the White Light, #6. Sean Gordon Murphy, he is killing it with this. I'm glad he's continuing this. So he should be in the main Batman office writing these stories. Now, Chip Zdarsky, he's killing it on Batman, but I like Sean Gordon Murphy to maybe do detective or do his own thing. But yeah, I'm loving this title, what he's doing. And I got some old school goodies. Incredible Hulk by the man Peter David. This is where Hulk fights the Super Skrull. Is Peter David like the best action writer in comics? Because this man writes action.
Yeah, Maestro was good.
Yeah,
Maestro was amazing.
Maestro.
And also another 2 more by Peter David. These are my favorite of his works. Incredible Hulk 376 and 377. This is where Bruce Banner has the mental breakdown and the Hulks, and they separate, right? And then this is where they join together to make the smart, powerful Hulk. But this 2-issue series is just mind-boggling action and fantastic. Awesome stuff.
Very nice.
Real quick. I don't know if you're doing a list of the best issues of the year. Me personally, I'm nominating this Batman 126 as the best comic book of the year.
I got Batman 128 right now.
128 is good, but I think it's more of what 126 did. The introduction of Failsafe. He's like a freight train. He nearly kills Batman, nearly destroys the Bat family. Just action, goodness, and then the ending, the cliffhanger was just awesome. Better than the last 2 runs we had of Batman. This it. Chip Zdarsky is killing it.
All right, Gabe, what are you recommending over at Weird Science and Comical Opinions? Any indie stuff?
Everybody's recommending these books on how to do art and writing, so now I'm scrambling to dig something up.
Be your own man. You do not need to follow.
No. I got something. Make comics like the pros from Greg Pak and Fred Van Lente. This is a great breakdown of script structure, and it's not that expensive. It's a pretty quick read. I would recommend this over
everything else those other jabronis said.
Yeah, Bendis's Words for Pictures. I would take this over Bendis's book any day of the week. It gives you sample scripts, shows you how to lay a script out, shows you how to tell the story. It's easy to read, and they even go through the example of creating a comic book script as part of the book. So if you're gonna pick up a book, I would recommend that one. And Fred Van Lente is a great writer. He does just Jennifer Blood stuff, and he's done a bunch of stuff in the past. So
he's a terrible superhero comic.
All right, not here to argue.
Okay. So if you're looking for an instructional book, I'd highly recommend that one. And Fred Van Lente also has an online course on Domestika, and it's when it's on sale, it's like $10. And it gives you all kinds of course lessons and everything else on how to write a comic book script. So it's cheap and it's good stuff. As far as comics goes, again, the big 2 brought me down, but the indies bring me back up. So we'll see. The only big 2 comic I will recommend this week is just for pure fun, and it's that time of year, is Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead #2. It's World War II, Sergeant Rock and Easy Company, and they're fighting undead zombie Nazis. I mean, it's as true blue plain Jane as you can get, but they're going after it, and it's written by Bruce Campbell, so it's kind of fun. There's nothing complicated. You don't have to think about it too much. It's just U.S. World War II soldiers just fighting zombies. I mean, that's all you need to say. If you're into that kind of stuff, it's perfect. Now, that's the big 2 for indies. The first one I'm going to recommend is Caffeinated Hearts from Source Point Press. It's a one-shot about a coffee bar diner kind of thing in the distant future, and you're just following this waitress throughout the course of her day, and she comes into contact with all these kinds of eclectic customers, and you get little heart stories of remorse and generosity and love. It's a kind of a feel-good, touchy-feely kind of comic, and it's just a one-shot. If you're into that kind of thing and you want something kind of weird and eclectic and different, pick that one up. Caffeinated Hearts by Source Point Press. The second one I'm going to recommend is The Boogeyman #2 from Ablaze. That first issue was great, where you have this little kid, his parents get killed, and it turns out there's this whole sort of hidden war between factions of boogeymen that are trying to kill people but also kill each other at the same time. This one picks it up a notch, where the boogeymen, the rival boogeymen, find Elliot and Father Death, and now they have to go through this. Then they're running through the forest, and there's all kinds of, you can learn all these tidbits about the really deep, rich lore mythology. So it's really turning out to be a great series. So that's Boogeyman #2 from Ablaze. The third one I'm going to recommend is a Kickstarter type of series called Plainer Jane, and this the latest issue out is called Plainer Jane #6 from Broken Face Comics, and the story is about this high school girl who's kind of a sociopath slash psychopath who's trying to find her calling in life, and she decides her calling is to be a paid assassin from a request from the dark web. And in the course of the series, as it's gone along, and she learns how to kill, and she learns how to kill, effectively without getting caught. All of a sudden, she finds herself in this situation where she gets caught up in this gangland story mob war, and she doesn't realize it. And now this is issue #6 is the penultimate issue, where all the people she's been killing, and she doesn't realize who she's been killing. Now the whole thing is about to fall on top of her, with them finding out who she is. The person who contracted her gets caught, and all kinds of things are happening. It's the art's, it's indie style art, but at the same time, the story is very compelling, very interesting. Plainer Jane #6. You can find it on Kickstarter. It's from Broken Face Comics, and that's it.
Very nice. Doc,
Also,
what are you
you can follow
recommending?
Weird Science Comics at Marvel, Weird Science Comics on DC, and also, of course, for me personally, follow comicalopinions.com. Sorry, that's it.
Doc, do you have any recommendations?
Recommending something a little old, because it's all I'm recommending ever again. The Phalanx Covenant, the original run from the mid-90s. So if you're looking for it, you could probably find a trade of it. I know there's an omnibus. I'm not sure if it's in print, but if you're looking for singles like the floppies, it's X-Men Adjectiveless 36 and 37, Uncanny X-Men 316 and 317, Wolverine 85, X Factor #106, X Force #38, and Cable #16, and Excalibur #82. So there's kind of two stories. The main Covenant stories in just the X-Men books. All the rest of them they have like two little side quest stories. But good little fun story.
Sounds perfect. I want to say thank you very much to everybody for joining us today. Had a lot of fun. We'll be right here next week for the Comics Aficionados, and definitely a special thank you to the guys behind Wild Void. Hope you support that comic book, and I really appreciate them sponsoring today's live stream.